Alrighty then. Let's see. Okay. All right. So I might be live now. And well, yes, thank you for joining. So it's my first live stream, so it's not not accustomed to live stream and whatnot, but I'll do my best. So um, yeah, if you can hear me, then that's great. That means I set up everything correctly because I tried to make sure the mic works and whatnot. And I'll be starting soon. Just to make sure I got my notes together. Make sure the novelization is there so I can read. Yes, thank you. Okay, you can hear me. That's good. That's good to know. Okay, that's good. That's good. Yes, so the novelization itself is actually like 100 pages long, so it's quite a long document to go through, but I also formatted it to be smaller. So just to make sure. It is 5 o'clock, so that's good. So I'm glad you could make it. There you go. You might hear some stuttering and whatnot, but that kind of comes with my channel. So there won't be a lot of music to the narration, but when the songs do come up, I will definitely try to play it for you. So, get some tea. And I should be ready to go. Okay, well, I mean, at least thank you for joining me, the Dust of Magic. So thank you very much for joining the live stream. I did share some other people that I know, so maybe they'll pop in later or something. But glad that you're here. I definitely appreciate it. So I can at least know that I'm reading, know that I'm reading to someone. Hey, it's at least somebody that I'm reading to. So I'm glad that you're here. But yeah, let me know if you are ready to start the story. I'll do a little bit of intro and setup as to how I'm going to do the stream. There might be a cat interference every now and then. I got my cat Toby off to the side here. He might be interrupting every now and then. Right, Toby? Yeah. But yeah, let me know if you are ready. I might wait for another minute, unless if you are ready. I'd like to see my cat. Okay. Let's see if I can get him into frame here. This is Toby. Here is Toby. He is he's very active, I guess you could say. So yes, good old Toby might might interfere every now and then. So he's very talkative when he wants to. All right, ready and excited to hear. Awesome. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. All right, so I've got a couple people here. So that's great. Awesome. Sweet. Thank you guys for being here. I very much appreciate it. So I guess I will be starting now reading the story here. So basically what I'll be doing is reading each chapter basically in its entirety. the chapter if you guys have any, comments, some, things that you like or dislike, or if I, didn't do something, the correct way, just let me know. And if not, if you don't have any comments and you're just here to listen, then I'll just go right into the next chapter. After chapter 4, Songs of the Dark Lantern, I will be kind of doing like a intermission, I guess, just to kind of like stand up, stretch, stuff like that, so that you guys can do the same thing too if you guys are still here by then, because my audiobook of Over the Garden Wall narrated is 3 hours long, so it's a long it's a long video, and this live stream will probably be about that long as well. So just to make sure that you guys are aware of that. And I think, with all that being said, I think we're just going to go right into the story here. So, yeah, welcome again to Over the Garden Wall narrated live. So, never done this before. So, this is a very special occasion, and it's fall season, so why not? So, we're going to go right into the story here. So, here we go. Chapter 1, The Old Grist Mill. The melody of Into the Unknown plays as distinct visuals switch from various scenes. A frog playing the opening notes on a swiveling piano, singing the enchanting tune. A red-headed girl in a blue dress, petting her dog while sitting in the woods with a bird flying by in the background, and the girl suddenly looking back towards the bird. A grinning black cat on a turkey-drawn cart full of pumpkins, riding on a trail through a thick cornfield. A circus with 4 long-legged instrumentalists performing in front of a large crowd, with the performers including a juggling gorilla and a ballerina dancing atop a galloping horse. A set of varied wooden dolls. A nobleman in a pristine hallway, holding a candle in the dark, looking upon a portrait before being startled by a moving shadow in the wind. An old woman with the top half of her face hidden by shadows, using a pair of embroidery scissors to snip a thread on a quilt. 2 jovial sailor-looking boys looking on the rocks that border a river, one winding up his toy steamboat before setting it on the water. A back view of an unknown girl in front of skulls and bones, setting a candle down on the shelf in an ossuary. A large fish on a wooden boat in a murky river, fishing. Another unknown figure picking up a rock from the ground. And finally, a view of a young woman standing in front of a well with a woodsman chopping logs in the background. And the young woman looks off to the side as a story flows through the forest. So, here we go. Somewhere lost in the clouded annals of history lies a place that few have seen, a mysterious place called the Unknown, where long-forgotten stories are revealed to those who travel through the wood. And these woods would soon be visited by 2 brothers, Wirt and Greg. It is dark in the forest as their adventure begins, mist blanketing the trails and surrounding the trees and their bramble. A bird can be seen within the branches, watching them silently as they trot through unfamiliar trails. Wirt is wearing a blue coat and has a pointy red hat, while Greg wears a pair of green overalls, has a silver pot set upside down on his head, and carries a large frog. Greg's voice echoes as he rambles. Antelope, Guggenheim, Albert, Salami, Giggly, Jumpy, Tom, Thomas, Tambourine, Legface McCullen, Artichoke, Penguin, Pete, Steve. But I think the very worst name for this frog is... Wait a second, says Wirt. Craig? Owls are heard hooting from the distance, and squirrels chatter from above. Where are we? asks Wirt. In the woods? Guesses Greg. I mean, what are we doing out here? We're walking home. Wirt becomes visibly distressed as he looks out into the dark in the shadowy forest. Greg, I think we're lost, stammers Wirt. We should have left a trail or something. I can leave a trail of candy from my pants, suggests Greg, throwing a handful of candy on the ground. No, sighs Wirt. Though I am lost, my wounded heart resides back home, in pieces, strewn about the graveyard of my lost love. For only... Wirt stops talking immediately as he hears the sound of an axe chopping in the distance. Do you hear that? He asks. Yeah, says Greg, following him. Wirt hides behind a tree in a panic while Greg joins him. They peek around it to find the source in the darkness. Do you think it's some kind of deranged lunatic with an axe waiting out there in the darkness for innocent victims? Wirt asks quickly. Greg doesn't answer as he jumps ahead and runs further into the woods. Wirt calls after him in a hushed whisper. There are brief chitterings from the squirrels and critters above, frightening Wirt before he follows after his brother and finds him at a large root. Greg, whispers Wirt, you're going to get us into trouble again. Wirt gasps as he looks at the source of the axe cutting. A lone woodsman stands before a fallen tree, nearly split in half. The top half of the tree is hollowed out, splintered, and has a menacing face carved into it, while the bottom half is in pieces. The woodsman, clad in a dark coat and a tall hat, gathers small fragments, twigs, and branches of the fallen tree as he works within the lantern light at his feet. He hums as he continues. We should ask him for help, whispers Greg. No, we should not ask him for help, retorts Wirt. But you shush, you shush. The woodsman takes the bundle of sticks with him as he disappears into the separate part of the forest, still humming the melody. The lantern light fades from the brothers' view. Shoot, says Wirt. You think we should have asked him for help? Greg shrugs. Hey, says a soft voice from above. Maybe I can help you. I mean, you guys are lost, right? The voice comes from a small bluebird, perched atop a nearby branch. Wirt, who is dumbfounded, gasps and slaps his own face in astonishment. What in the world is going on? asks Wirt. Well, you're slapping yourself, answers Greg, and I'm answering your question, and no, Greg. A bird's brain isn't big enough for cognizant speech. Hey, what was that? asked the bird, clearly annoyed. While Wirt is stammering his thoughts, Greg places a piece of his candy on a small black turtle that climbs over the roots of the tree. He turns back to listen to them. I mean, says Wirt, I'm just saying, you're weird, like not normal. I mean, oh my gosh, stop talking to it, Wirt. It? Repeats the bird angrily. Greg sticks a piece of candy onto Wirt's blue cape. Suddenly, from behind them, the woodsman that they saw earlier appears swiftly, holding onto his lantern while hauling the same sticks and bramble from before. What are you doing here? Demands the woodsman with a scowl. Explain yourselves. And I'll see you later. Bye, says the bird as she flies away. Wirt, who is clearly frightened, stammers his response. Calm down, mister. Whatever you do here is your business. We just want to go home with all of our legs and arms attached. These woods, says the woodsman in his deep, coarse voice, are no place for children. Don't you know the beast is afoot here? The beast? Repeats Wirt. Well, we don't know anything about that. We're just two lost kids trying to get home. Well, welcome to the unknown, boys. You're more lost than you realize. Wirt's panicked expression fixates on another tree with an ominous face, carved into its trunk. The wind howls as night has finally set in. Thankfully, Wirt and Greg are led to a mill house, painted white with a light shade of green off for the roof. A water wheel is set to its side while a gently flowing stream borders the house and the rest of the woods. The rest of the forest remains in the shadow of the night. Inside the house, there is a hearth on the farthest wall, where the woodsman begins to light a fire. There is a red sofa, leftover wood for the fireplace, and a carpet. A flight of stairs to the left leads up to unknown rooms. Despite the lack of decorations, though there are a few scattered about, the house shelters the brothers from the elements and the dangers that lurk outside. I found this homestead abandoned, explains the woodsman, and repurposed this mill for my needs. There is a flicker of light as the woodsman sparks the fire with a piece of flint and steel. You and your brother should be safe here while I work. Greg enters the room from outside, stepping backwards, placing pieces of candy on the floor, and humming his own tune. Candy trail, candy trail, candy trail. What is your work exactly? asks Wirt. The woodsman pauses for a moment, as if in deep thought of past memories. Everyone has a torch to burn, he responds, patting the lantern, and this here's mine. I grind the horrid edelwood trees into oil to keep this lantern lit. He takes a piece of the branches strapped on his back, splits it in half, and tosses it aside, where it lands underneath the sofa. With a lost look in his face, he stares into the fire. This is my lot in life, he continues. This is my burden. Leaning over to Greg, Wirt whispers, This guy sounds loony. Maybe we should make a break for it, if we can. but he must know the woods really well, so we may need to knock him out first. Except that might actually really turn really bad, huh? Yeah, bad plan. Forget it, bad plan. Okay, says Greg, shrugging. What are you boys whispering about? Asks the woodsman as he faces them again. We were talking about running away out of here, responds Greg bluntly. Both Wirt and Greg shush each other. The woodsman groans as he stands to his full height. Oh, leave if you wish, but remember, the beast haunts these woods, ever singing his mournful melody in search of lost souls such as yourself. To help us? Asks Greg. No, not to help you, the woodsman responds, turning to walk. I have work to do in the mill. When I am finished, I will do what I can to guide you, if you are still here when I return. The woodsman shuts the door behind him. Huh, says Wirt thoughtfully. I guess we could just leave, but I don't know. Greg! Greg walks over to a pile of split logs, examining them as he swings them around. Do you really think there is a beast out there? Asks Wirt, while Greg walks over to a table and swings a sculpture around. Or is that guy just messing with us? Uh-huh, says Greg, clearly distracted. I mean, he could have done away with us by now, if that was his plan. And he lit that fire. That's pretty nice. Yeah, agrees Greg. I guess it's possible there is a beast, Wirt says as he approaches the sofa near the fire. Since there was a talking bird, but... Yeah, encourages Greg. Wirt lies down on the sofa, sighing. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm just like a boat upon a winding river, twisting towards an endless black sea. Greg takes down a banjo from the wall, swings it around before he sits down on the floor. Further and further, continues Wirt dramatically, drifting away from where I want to be. Who I want to be. Oh, I didn't know that, says Greg. Did you know that if you soak a raisin in grape juice, it turns into a grape? Greg takes out a rock with a painted face on it. It's a rock fact, he explains. You're not helping at all. Why don't you go play with your frog or something? Beans, where is that frog of mine? Hold on there, second brother of mine. I'll be back soon with your plan. Greg throws a bunch of his candies into the air before he exits the room, while Wirt stares up at the ceiling in deep thought. Meanwhile, Greg is outside the house, following his candy trail that he left outside, searching for his frog. Kitty! Kitty! Greg calls out. Now where did that frog named Kitty go? Whoop! Greg slips on his own candy. I tripped on my own candy trail, he announces to himself. From within the dark forestry, a monstrous growling echoes. Greg approaches the edges of the forest to check it out. But as he stares into the forest, a croak from a frog sounds from behind him. Rawr. That frog's giving me the runaround, he says. Greg goes back to the walls of the mill house, scouring more of his candy. He climbs up a barrel and peeks inside the workstation of the mill. There inside is the woodsman, where he takes pieces of the edelwood branches and places them inside a crushing machine with moving gears. From this machine, a black oozy substance pours into a clear vial. The woodsman hums as he places branch after branch into the machine. Gross, says Greg. Another croak comes from behind Greg. Rawr. Kitty? Yes. The same animalistic growling from before repeats itself from within the deep shadows of the woods. Greg takes a step forward, but falls into the barrel that he stepped on. Oh, there you are, Greg says, finding his frog wallet rivets again. Rawr. The growling continues, but is growing closer. Wirt? Calls out Greg, fearful. He pauses as the growling is closer now. Kitty? From the edges of the barrel, an enormous black dog with glowing blue and yellow eyes appears, its fangs extending. You have beautiful eyes, exclaims Greg. The dog screeches and howls as it unhinges its jaw, ready to strike. But before anything happens, the scene shifts over to Wirt. He is playing a handheld stick and ball game, a Bolero toy, before he hears a crash from outside. He stands up in response. He begins. Sounds of footsteps approach before the woodsman barges in. What's happening? He demands. Where's your brother? I don't know, says Wirt, shrugging. Just then, Greg stumbles into the room with shambles of the barrel scattered about him. Holy moly, hot dog, Greg says before he is knocked back against the flight of stairs by the monstrous black dog. It's the beast, exclaims Wirt. Stay back, boys, commands the woodsman, wielding the axe and ready to fight the dog. Greg takes a piece of wood as he slips further down the stairs. This creature, continues the woodsman, which is known as. Greg knocks the hat off the woodsman's head. He becomes confused and loses his footing, where he slips and breaks the sculpture from before and falls unconscious on the floor. Greg, yells Wirt, why did you do that? That was the plan, remember? Replies Greg. Knock him out. No, bad plan. Wirt backs up near the fireplace, taking the fire grate as a shield as he tries to defend himself against the dog. Greg, however, takes the axe and with the back end of it, whacks the dog playfully. Spank, 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 he says as he hits the dog. While it turns around in distraction, Wirt runs from his position and out the door into the mill. Run, Wirt yells. Candy camouflage, exclaims Greg as he throws Candy in front of him, grabbing the axe and his frog and following Wirt. The ferocious dog chases after them, splitting open the door frame and crashing into the mill, breaking the machine and its gears. Wirt clambers onto a platform while Greg joins him. This is amazing, huh? Says Greg. While the black dog comes free of the wreckage, Wirt spots a sack of potatoes to the side. He grabs a few and throws them at the dog, but to no damage or distraction. Dumping the entire bag onto the dog, Greg looks from side to side as he holds both the axe and his frog. Am I supposed to throw something? He asks. Oh yeah. With a sudden realization, Greg tosses a handful of his candy onto the platform. The black dog spots the treats and begins to lick them up at once. Greg comes back to Wirt, where they hide behind a giant gear. He's eating your candy, says Wirt, surprised. I wonder if he ate my whole candy trail that led to this mill, wonders Greg. Ah, Greg, says Wirt as he smacks Greg's teapot. You led the beast right to us with your candy. As the dog finishes the candy, it claws in the direction of the brothers, but ends up flipping the platform to its side, separating them from the dog. As it is stuck momentarily, Wirt and Greg stand up in a daze. Hey, give me the axe, says Wirt, taking the item. You're too little to have it anyway. We gotta get out of here. Greg nudges Wirt as he points out a ladder that leads upwards. Wirt takes the lead as the ladder ends up to the very top of the roof of the mill. They climb up successfully, but the dog bursts through the roof, causing the brothers to back up to the very edge. Greg, says Wirt frantically, give him the rest of your candy. Greg searches his pockets, but nothing remains. But as he looks around, he spots one piece that is still stuck to Wirt's cape. Taking the candy piece, he throws it over the roof, where the dog jumps after it. The piece and the dog end up lodged into the gears and wedges of the watermill, where it crushes the dog and shatters the entire building of the mill, causing Wirt and Greg to fall into the nearby stream. A black ooze is seen escaping the dog's mouth. As Wirt wields the axe and comes to his feet, he sees a black turtle with the same candy piece stuck to its shell scuttle around his feet. He looks at it curiously. Hey, Wirt, look, says Greg excitedly. Greg, asks Wirt, looking around, finding his brother with his frog atop a normal behaving dog with white and brown fur. Wirt, he spit out that turtle, and now he's my new best friend. The dog shakes off the water, causing Greg and his frog to fall off. The dog begins to walk off into the woods. Where are you going? Calls out Greg, but the dog ambles off. Ain't that just the way? While the dog lays down to rest, the woodsman comes from inside and sees the destruction. The mill is destroyed, he says in dismay. The oil all gone. But look, reminds Wirt, we got the beast problem solved. He points over to the dog, happily resting. That dog? Yells the woodsman. That is not the beast. The woodsman takes the axe away from Wirt and moves towards the stream. The beast, he continues, cannot be mollified like some farmer's pet. He stalks like the night, he mutters as he swings the axe through a rock. He sings like the four winds. He's the death of hope. He steals their children and he'll ruin. The woodsman murmurs away while Wirt and Greg watch him. You're always messing up, Greg, says Wirt. Boy, exclaims the woodsman, you have it backwards. You are the elder child. You are responsible for you and your brother's actions. Wirt glances over to the broken mill. I'm sorry. Apologizes Wirt. Maybe I can fix it? I can't fix it. You must go, says the woodsman sadly, and points across the river. Take your brother north. Look for a town. Yeah, thanks, says Wirt as he leads Greg over to the river, where there are stepping stones to the opposite shore. Come on, Greg. While the brothers hop along each stone, they are stopped as the woodsman warns them ahead of the danger ahead. "One last thing," he says. "Beware the unknown, fear the beasts, and leave these woods if you can. It is your burden to bear." "Right," says Wirt. "Yeah, got it." "And you, little one," reminds the woodsman, "you look after that frog. Give it a proper name." The frog croaks loudly. "Rar." "Okay," says Greg with an okay sign. Wirt and Greg cross over the river and enter into the woods once more. As they find a trail through the dark woods, Greg starts up a conversation. "Wirt," he says, "I think I thought of a new name for our frog. I'm going to call him Wirt." "That's going to be really confusing," admits Wirt. "No, I'm going to call you Kitty." "What? Maybe I'll start calling you Candy Pants." "Whoa, yeah!" The frog croaks loudly. "Rawr." "Good one, Wirt," says Greg. "Thanks," says Wirt. "I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to Wirt." And so the brothers continue walking through the woods, unaware of what or who they might meet along the way. And yeah, there you go. Chapter 1 is done. Let's see here. Okay, thank you, everybody. Yes, hello, hi to my wife. Hello, thank you for joining me. And hola, chela, hola. How's everybody doing? Thank you. Yes, Imitation of the Woodsman. Yeah. My dad says he loves you. Yes, love you too. Yeah, so yeah, thank you for the woodsman. I was never really sure about like the woodsman's voice. I feel like I don't have that gravelly voice, but I do it as accurate as I can. So it's fun to yeah. Grandpa says he wants a kid from you. Hey, yeah, I know. Well, hey, don't ask me. You got to ask my wife about that one. I'm ready. So, but yeah, thank you for everyone who says that I do a decent job, I guess, of voices. I try my best, especially with fictional characters that I know their voices and I know I can't replicate them very well. But I do my best, and hey, it's Over the Garden Wall because I try to do my best because it's one of my favorite things. Um, uh, for those who do know me, my love for Lord of the Rings and I think anything Tolkien, with all the imitations and lines and stuff like that is huge. But then Over the Garden Wall is like very steadily creeping towards, my absolute favorite show animation. I consider it a movie because it's only an hour long. So, but yes, thank you everyone for joining the stream. I definitely appreciate it. So, but with chapter 1 out of the way, the Old Grist Mill, one of my favorite chapters, I would say, one of the best introductions to an animated show, I think, with the Black Dog, the Woodsman, great introduction to Wirt and Greg. It's very fun to kind of be back in the unknown. It's very fun. So, yeah, so we're going to go into chapter 2 here. And I found out that tea is a great way to soothe the throat. So here we go into the next one. Yeah, here we go into chapter 2, which is Hard Times at the Huskin Bee. And before I kind of go into it, I got to make sure that there is the song ready. Cool. All right. Chapter 2, Hard Times at the Huskin Bee. Here we go. The beginning sunlight of the next day shines through the autumn breeze. Golden leaves fall from the forested trees as Wirt and Greg make their way onward. Up above, geese fly in a V pattern, while down below, insects chirp and scuttle about, and a flock of turkeys cluck in the distance. As the brothers walk, Greg is blowing raspberries by pushing both of his cheeks with his fingers together. Greg's frog sits on top of his upside-down teapot. while Wirt listens to his brother's nonsense. It's almost morning, says Wirt, worried. We should have found a town by now. This is the way the woodsman told us to go, right? Have you listened to anything I've been saying? Responds Greg. For the last couple of hours, I've been saying. Greg blows more raspberries. Well, that settles it. I'm going to walk 10 feet up ahead of you. From the distance, a soft voice calls out, Help! Huh? Says Greg, alerted. I'm stuck, says the voice. I hear something, announces Greg. It's probably nothing, says Wirt as he approaches the sign nailed to a tree. Hey, look, Pottsfield, 1 mile. A town. Let's go this way. Okay, let's go this way, says Greg, and goes in the opposite direction. Not. Ugh. Greg walks ahead and is alerted again with the voice. Hello? Calls out Greg. Hey, you, says the voice. Who, me? Yeah, you. The voice comes from inside from within the bushes, where the same bluebird from before is stuck in a tangle of vine and twigs. Oh, hello, greets Greg. It's you again, says the bird. I'm stuck. Help me out of here and I'll owe you a favor. Whoa, I get a wish? No, not a wish. I'm not magical. I'll just do you a good turn. Can you turn me into a tiger? No, I just said I'm not magical. It doesn't have to be a magical tiger. Wirt approaches his brother. Greg, stop talking to a bush, he says. Okay, shrugs Greg, and frees the bird from the bush. Thanks, says the bird. I owe you a favor. So, you two are lost kids with no purpose in life, right? Wirt seems surprised, but Greg gives a uh-huh response. How about I bring you to Adelaide of the pasture, suggests the bird, the good woman of the woods. She can help you get home. Oh, says Greg, enchanted. No, disagrees Wirt, waving his hands. Magic talking birds leading us to fairy godmothers and a mysterious. I'm going to Pottsfield. Yeah, says Greg, we're going to Pottsfield. Come on. Greg beckons the bird over as she impatiently comes with them. What about the favor? She asks. I'll think of my wish later, replies Greg. The bird sighs with annoyance. Wirt, Greg, the frog, and the bird walk through a pumpkin patch on a trodden trail. The morning sunlight shines brightly upon them. So, let's small talk, says Greg. My name's Greg. What's yours? Beatrice, says the bird, irritated. My brother's name is Wirt. Who cares? Wirt looks over to them, annoyed, but says nothing. And my frog's name is Wirt Jr., continues Greg, but that may change. Okay, that's great, says Beatrice, and in a quiet tone whispers, How about you and I ditch your brother? Maybe later. So was it nice being a bird? Nope, she says bluntly. Oh, do you like waffles? No, waffles make me sick. I eat maggots. Greg screams at her response. What? She yells out. How could you not eat waffles? He asks loudly before he screams again. What? Beatrice yells again. I stepped on a pumpkin. Aha, civilization, see? Announces Wirt. As the travelers are walking, they end up at the top of a hill. In the valley before them is a simple village, where the fields of corn and pumpkins end. Wirt accidentally steps into a pumpkin too and shakes it off. All right, he says, let's rejoin society. The three visitors enter the town, but while they walk through it, they realize that no one is to be seen anywhere. They pass through houses and into small alleyways, but still not a soul can be seen. Hello? Calls out Wirt uncertainly. Hello? See anyone? No, responds Greg. I see you. Yeah, I see you too, Greg. Hey, not to be obnoxious, interrupts Beatrice, annoyed, but an abandoned ghost town doesn't seem like it's going to be that useful in getting you guys home. There's got to be somebody, somewhere, he says as he knocks a few times on a random house before entering. Excuse me, anyone here? Hello? Inside the house in the main room is an empty table with a large turkey on the opposite side. It lifts up its head in response to Wirt's entrance. Oh, says Wirt awkwardly. Sorry, I'm looking for a phone. I'm sorry. Wirt exits the house and leaves the door ajar. The turkey's head plops down onto the table. Returning back to Beatrice, she asks, Did you find anything? Nope. Where's Greg? He asks, seeing that only the frog is there. Greg pops out of a haystack. Do you hear that? He asks. From an old barn, a melodic singing paired with a pastoral theme of stringed instruments are heard. And before we get into that, I'm going to see if you guys can hear the song. See if you guys can hear it or not. The Pottsfield Chorus. Yes, patient as the night is great. Agreed. And it is coming up. Great. That's what they hear. Okay. They open the barn to see a surprising scene. Figures dressed in pumpkins and straw and pilgrim-styled outfits are having a strange celebration. A group of them are dancing around a massive figure that stands high above them on a maypole into shadows. Others are husking corn and peeling apples, while another is bobbing for apples in a bucket of water. A black cat is also seen dancing among the strange folk. While Wirt, Greg, and Beatrice take everything, another figure from outside bumps into them, also dressed in pumpkin outfit. "Oh, pardon me there," he says, his voice muffled by the pumpkin, and turns to them. "Say, you folks ought to don your vegetables and celebrate the harvest with us." Oh, says Wirt with a realization. "You're wearing costumes." "Well, sure," says the pumpkin pilgrim. "Pumpkins can't move on their own, can they?" "Ha, no, says Wirt awkwardly. "Good thing I didn't take this thing off," says Greg, shaking his foot that still has the pumpkin stuck to it. "You guys find this place as creepy as I do, right?" says Beatrice. "So it's some kind of weird cult," says Wirt, shrugging, "where they wear vegetable costumes and dance around a big thing. They seem nice enough." "Okay, so you're in denial," assumes Beatrice. "That's fine. But I'm just saying, something feels off about this place." They look over to see another pumpkin pilgrim, but they wield a carving knife, where they are making their own jack-o'-lanterns. Their own pumpkin face creaks as it turns toward the visitor's direction. "Well," says Wirt, "maybe I can find someone here who will give us a ride home. Greg, you stay out of trouble. Beatrice, thank you, but you can leave." "I can't leave," she says, irritated. "I'm honor bound to help you since you guys helped me. That's the Bluebird rules." "Ah, okay," says Wirt as he heads in further. "Beatrice, would you care for this dance?" says Greg in a fake fancy posh voice. "No, thanks," says Beatrice, but is still drawn in with with Greg. "No, thanks. I said no thank you." While Greg leads Beatrice in, the figure that the pumpkin pilgrims dance around follows the direction with an eerie gaze. Wirt ends up meeting one of those pilgrims with long ponytails on both sides. "Say," she says, "aren't you a little too early?" "What do you mean?" asks Wirt. "I mean, it doesn't seem like you're ready to join us just yet." "Join you? Yeah, no, I'm just passing through. Folks don't tend to pass through Pottsfield." "Oh, yeah?" he asked nervously. "Yeah, it's nice here. I'm really just looking to leave here as fast as possible." From the side of Wirt comes an older-looking pumpkin figure, holding up a cornucopia as if using it for a hearing aid. What? What?" he stammers. "Leave Pottsfield. Who wants to leave Pottsfield?" The background music stops with faltering notes as the rest of the villagers turn in surprise. Tension builds immediately. "He wants to leave Pottsfield," whispers some of the villagers. "Oh, are we leaving already?" asks Greg. "Let's leave immediately," suggests Beatrice, distressed. "I'm just trying to get home," Wirt says, trying to explain himself. "They're not supposed to be here," whispers more of the villagers. "Maybe they're here to steal our crops, or to ruin our party, or take off our pumpkin shoes," adds Greg happily. One of the villagers closes the main barn doors, and inside it becomes instantly darker. There is a deep chuckle from the tall figure from within the shadows. Wirt's nervous smile fades as he looks up in shock. The maypole and its large pumpkin head from above moves and lowers its face to look upon the visitors. "Well, now, hold on, everybody," says the figure in its deep voice. "Let's not jump to any conclusions." "Whoa," says Greg, surprised.
"Enoch," says the older villager, "what shall we do with them?"
I, I'm done," says Beatrice and flies off. Enoch's strands from the top of the barn snaps off, and he uses the strands as arms and wiggling limbs. By now, Wirt and Greg are surrounded by the pumpkin pilgrims.
"Well, now," grumbles Enoch, "let's see here, boys. How did you end up in this little town of ours?"
Well, begins Wirt, we were trying to get home. We came into town from the woods, and we saw your farms and your houses and thought, hey, here's a normal place with normal people. And we both stepped on pumpkins, added Greg. Yeah, agrees Wirt. And then we heard the music from the barn, and, well, how about we just leave?
Heh, now let me get this straight, says Enoch, now becoming more menacing. You come to our town, you trample our crops, you interrupt our private engagement, and now you want to leave.
Yes, responds Wirt. You'll never convict, yells Greg, stomping his pumpkin foot. You have no proof. From behind them, the older villager holds Beatrice, who squirms to get out of his grip.
This one's trying to escape,
he says, bringing her forward. Let me go, protests Beatrice. I don't know these clowns.
Children, says Enoch, it saddens me that you don't wish to stay here with us, particularly because I simply have to punish you for your transgressions.
Enoch's extra hay tendrils flare up around him. I told you this place was bad news, says Beatrice.
So by the order of the Pottsville Chamber of Commerce,
rings Enoch in a sing-songy voice,
I find you guilty of trespassing, destruction of property, disturbing the peace, and murder.
Murder? Stammers Wirt incredulously.
Oh, no, not murder,
Enoch corrects himself.
But for those of the crimes, I sentence you to a few hours of manual labor.
Wait, what? That's it? Asked Wirt. In the fields of the pumpkin patches and cornfields, Wirt, Greg, and Beatrice all have a ball and chain tied to their legs. Beatrice initially tries to drag herself away from hers, while Greg happily balances his frog on a rake, while Wirt gathers straw into small piles. Next, Wirt snips off the stems of pumpkins while Greg throws them onto a cart that is pulled by giant turkeys. The turkeys pull off Wirt's hat and garble in delight. Meanwhile, the pumpkin heads pop up from behind the stalks of corn, watching them as they work. Beatrice looks over to them worriedly. During their day, as they are pulling ears of corn from the field, Wirt tries to take a bite to eat, but since they are under a vigilant watch, he's not allowed to. Finally, nearing the end of the day, Wirt and Greg are digging into the loose soil with shovels in an open field. And as they are working, as we all know, they included the song of Patient is the Night.
Upon the fields of frost over, clocked in till the work day's over. Time's a gentle stream, longer than it seems. Patient is the night. How long to see her face now? Her starry moonlit gaze now. I know she's never late, still anxiously I wait. Patient is the night.
Yes, Patient is the Night. Incredible. I love that song. So, as they are working, they go pretty much to the end of the day as they are clocked in till the workday's over, and that is very much relatable. Just a few hours of manual labor, says Wirt, wiping his forehead, and we're almost done. And then what are you going to do? Asks Beatrice, who sits on the ground watching the brothers dig. Just wander around this way and that way, through the woods, forevermore? Maybe we'll just stay in Pottsfield. It's nice here. I don't know. Why do they even have you digging these holes? Planting seeds or something. Maybe, says Beatrice with a gasp of fake delight. Oh, they're going to bury you out here. Hey, exclaims Greg. Buried treasure. Whoa, really? Asks Wirt and turns to Beatrice. See, Beatrice? And then as he turns to Greg, asks, what'd you find? A skeleton, Greg announces excitedly as he crawls out of the hole. Wirt stammers in shocked realization. We're digging our own. I was wrong. I was wrong all along. I don't know how to get us home. Use your little feet to pick our locks. Oh, now you want my help? Says Beatrice defensively. I don't want your help, says Wirt, but music from within the fields begin to play, sounding like a funeral jazz march with a trumpet and snare drum. And I think I actually do have that as well.
Oh, we're going.
No, not that one.
Asked you to me, Dad.
Here we go. Funeral Jazz March. Wirt looks up to see a procession in the field with 4 white flags and Enoch leading the parade, tied up the front flag and approaching them. Yes, yells Wirt panicked. I want your help. Beatrice, seriously.
Your time is up,
Announces the elderly pumpkin villager. Suddenly, as Wirt turns around, an entire crowd of the pilgrims are lined up close to Wirt and the hole he dug. Enoch looks down at both Wirt and Greg and the work that they did.
Them holes been dug?
Asks the old villager. Yeah, responds Wirt nervously.
Splendid. Well then.
But no.
No.
The villager repeats. Psst, Beatrice whispers from within the hole that Wirt stands in, chipping away at his chain. Keep stalling. Right, yeah, stammers Wirt. We were digging, and there were too many rocks. You guys don't like rocks, right? The villagers murmur over one another. No, we don't like rocks. I don't think so. See, says Wirt. So we were like, we should get rid of these rocks.
Well, that's a good idea,
murmurs the villager. Beatrice flies over to where Greg is to begin to free him, while Wirt distracts the villagers. Yeah, so we are getting rid of the rocks, continues Wirt. And, they left me. From behind Wirt, he sees that both Greg and Beatrice are running in the opposite direction.
So what happened to the rocks?
Asks the villager. The rocks, says Wirt. Yeah, they were, they got in the way of all the dirt, and Wirt's eyes widen and he gives a shout as he sees a moving skeleton from behind him, bouncing its bones against its skull in a dancing manner. The villagers surround the skeleton, where it rolls into a pumpkin outfit, much like the others, while the villagers whoop and cheer him on. Meanwhile, a second skeleton pops up right next to Wirt, who shouts in shock again. The second skeleton does the same and has a different pumpkin outfit. They all begin to dance around the flags and around Enoch, who seems very delighted. They're all skeletons, Wirt says in realization.
Thanks for digging up the life of the party, says the villager.
Ah, what a wonderful harvest,
rumbles Enoch before he turns to Wirt.
And what about you? You sure you want to leave?
Me? Yes, says Wirt instantly.
Oh, well,
responds Enoch, turning back to the event.
You'll join us someday.
Psst, Beatrice calls out to Wirt in the cornfields. Why are you still here? What do you mean? Says Wirt defensively. You guys left me. Beatrice gestures over to her ankle, no longer having a ball and chain. Wirt looks down and realizes she had freed him before Greg and her had taken off without him. They both rush out of the field and run down the trail into the woods, meeting up with Greg, and Wirt is out of breath. Are they chasing us? Nope, says Greg and Beatrice. I thought you guys, begins Wirt. You're welcome, says Beatrice. Thank you, says Wirt after a pause. I guess we're even now, huh? You're not honor-bound to help us out anymore. I wish, Beatrice sighs. But you weren't actually in any danger with those weirdos. Oh, yeah, Wirt says in realization. Then you still have to help us get home. I got it, announces Greg. I wish Wirt Jr. had fingernails so he could play the guitar better. There's a moment of near silence as crickets sound during a long pause. So, yeah, says Beatrice. I'll bring you to Adelaide. I mean, that's where I'm going anyway. The trio of travelers begin to walk down the trail together, further and deeper into the woods. Why are you going to Adelaide's? Asks Greg. I guess in some ways, I'm trying to get home too, she answers. That's vague, points out Wirt. What does that mean? I don't have to tell you anything, she says dismissively. Well, says Wirt, I sure hope Adelaide is more helpful than that woodsman was. His directions were not very good. And so Wirt, Greg, and Beatrice continue down the path and disappear from Pottsfield and venture further into the unknown. And that is Chapter 2, Hard Times at the Huskin Bee. A lot of people's favorite chapter. But yes, Over the Garden Wall definitely does have the best soundtrack. I could probably listen to it over and over again and never get tired of it. It's such a good one. And yeah, I really love the line of,
Murder? Oh no, not murder.
I absolutely love that. The little line of Enoch. It's always really fun to do that. And I don't know. Hard Times at Huskin B is like the most fall weather, like autumnal theme. It's. I feel like it's the one that really gets people into Over the Garden Wall when it comes to like September, October time. I feel like it kind of makes sense. Because I think in general, Over the Garden Wall takes place literally on Halloween. So because that's basically like the day when Wirt and Greg enter the unknown is on Halloween. So it kind of makes sense that it's a very autumnal show, autumnal themed show. I would say that. But yeah, Enoch is very fun to do. Even though it might not have been accurate, but it's very fun to do it. Yeah, the animation is perfect. Oh man, yeah, the the scenery of this episode is just incredible. It perfectly matches like the I guess the tranquility of fall. Like it's that transition between the very hot days of summer to that nice little in between, at least in the Midwest. Because I'm in the Midwest right now, so right now we're still kind of in those hot days, so I'm kind of waiting for fall. I was really hoping for a nice cool day today, but it's like 90 degrees. So it's not very fun when fall is hot, but yeah. Hard Times at Huskin B, very fun. Also, there's a lot of things in my deep dive series that I did for Over the Garden Wall that adds Hard Times at Huskin B, with prominent figures like Enoch and even the Black Cat, and these like sentient animals and like moving skeletons, and it's incredible. So, but if you guys don't have anything else for this chapter, I think just in general the music is absolutely incredible. So I think with that being said, we'll go right into the next chapter here. Again, thank you guys so much for joining the stream. I really appreciate it. I didn't know if anybody was going to show up or not, but it's been fun to revisit the story of like the novelization. So it's fun to read the story. But yeah, I think we'll just go right into the next chapter. Good. Enjoying it. Very good. Okay, so let's go into the next chapter. Chapter 3, School Town Follies. Wirt, Greg, and Beatrice walk along a trail with an uneven stone wall next to them. Some of the forest is filled with mist, while other unknown corners are shadowy and dark. Nevertheless, Greg sings his own song about going to Adelaide cheerfully, while his frog happily jumps next to him. And we'll see if I can find that song.
Oh, we're going to the pasture to meet Adelaide. Yes, she has a way to send us back where we came from. I don't know who she is or how she is or when or why she is, but that's where she is. She is where we will go. Adelaide, Adelaide, come on, it's going to be Adelaide parade. Adelaide, to Adelaide, we're going to Adelaide's house today.
Okay, so that's basically the song that they sing. I can't sing, so I'm letting the songs do it. So I need to fix that last part, but that's the idea, says Greg. So, Beatrice, you sing the high part. Wirt, you sing the really high part. What? Comments Greg, annoyed. And nobody is singing anything anymore, interrupts Beatrice. Wirt bends down to tie his loose shoe. And Wirt, says Beatrice impatiently, keep moving. But I have to, begins Wirt, but stands up anyway. Ugh, all right. But we have to do something fun, says Greg. You know, we really don't, disagrees Beatrice. We can just keep walking silently, you know? And, Wirt, let's go, come on. Sorry, stammers Wirt once he tries again to tie his shoe. But shouldn't we, begins Greg. Greg, don't you want to be more like your brother, says Beatrice. Just always doing what you're told, just a pathetic pushover who relies on others to make all his decisions. Hey, what? Says Wirt, offended. I'm not a pushover. Hold on, Wirt, let me get to my point. Fine, says Wirt with a scoff. See, Greg? No willpower whatsoever. Wirt humps angrily. You need to be more like that, Beatrice concludes. But that doesn't really sound that fun, admits Greg. The world is a miserable place, Greg. Life isn't fun. Greg breathes in deeply as he says, Then I'll do what I need to do, I guess. Thank you. We'll just focus on getting you guys to Adelaide so I can wash my hands of this whole affair, and if you could pick up the pace a bit, that'd be great. Okay? Okay? Hey, where's Greg? Beatrice looks down and sees that Greg has disappeared, and Wirt realizes this suddenly too. Oh, says Wirt, wandered off, I guess. Cheese and crackers. Greg is running through a part of the woods with his frog resting on top of the upside-down teapot. We need to do our part to make the world a better place, he announces happily while the frog croaks in response. Rawr. Huh? Whoa! Greg runs over to an opening in the woods as he hears the ringing of a bell, where a small red and white schoolhouse sits next to a gentle stream. Standing in front of the school, Greg scoffs. Pfft, school? Not today. He runs off behind a few trees to find something else to do. Meanwhile, Wirt and Beatrice follow where Greg was and discover the school for themselves. They're surprised, but Wirt enters the building. He's in for more of a shock as the students in the schoolhouse are all animals, including a cat, dog, rabbit, fox, and pig, all dressed up in a simple, old-fashioned outfit. At the front of the room, the teacher, Miss Langtree, is a woman with a white and brown skirt and dark brown hair. She has already written words on the chalkboard behind her, a simple rule of the school. Excuse me, says Miss Langtree. Please, take your seat, children. You're late. You know the rules. Once the bell has rung, class has begun. Oh, sorry, everybody, interjects Beatrice. Sorry, no, he doesn't have a brain. He can't learn anything. Let's go, Wirt. Come on, here, boy. What? Did you say something? Asked Wirt, irritated. I can't hear you because I'm too busy doing what I'm told. Wirt heads over to an empty desk and sits down. What? No, what? Let's go. Oh, no, see, I'm a pushover, remember. I have to do what she tells me to do. Ah, Wirt, your brother could be in trouble somewhere. Just then, Greg taps at one of the windows, hums a hello, before humming a disapproval as he looks over the classroom. His frog croaks as it runs behind him. Rawr, and Greg follows to chase it down. Beatrice sighs as she faces Wirt as he is still sitting down. Bluebirds have a short lifespan, explains Beatrice. You two are literally killing me every moment I'm forced to spend with you. Oh, says Wirt. Young man, announces Miss Langtree, I will not stand for such nonsense in my classroom. I got enough nonsense from that no-good, two-time and low-down handsome man of mine. Oh, Jimmy Brown, why did you have to leave me so? Miss Langtree walks over to the window, where sunlight shines through as she speaks her mind further. And now, with my father threatening to close the school and that wild gorilla on the loose, why, Jimmy, I just have one thing to say. Miss Langtree begins to sing an upbeat tune, but with her words of regret and sadness towards Jimmy. She begins each verse with a letter of the alphabet and adding her own personal emotions to them. And I'll see if I can find that song as well.
A is for the apple that he gave to me, but I found a worm inside. B is for the lover that I called to him before he left my side.
And as she is singing this, during her continued singing, Beatrice whispers over to her, Oof, that lady's got some baggage. What's that? Says Miss Langtree, narrowing on Wirt. Young man, go to the dunce box. She points over to a small wooden box with the door having a tiny window at the top where it is barred. Oh, sure, okay, says Wirt as he stands up and heads over to the box. No, says Beatrice, clearly annoyed. Now, where were we? Asks Miss Langtree as she continues her song. Meanwhile, Greg is still outside, but he has made some new friends. Sitting on top of a log, Greg is talking with a deer, raccoon, possum, and of course, his frog. All the animals except for the frog are dressed in simple clothes like the animals from inside the schoolhouse. So my theory, Greg tells him, is hot dogs are not actually dogs, regardless of what they teach you in school. But you guys don't go to school, huh? I'm going to stick with you guys. The raccoon finds a small black turtle, picks it up curiously, and throws it into a nearby pond. I got an idea, announces Greg. Let's play Two Old Cat. Do you guys know how to play Two Old Cat? The raccoon blinks dully ahead. It's fun. I'll show you. Greg runs over to the schoolhouse and finds a scruffy brown and white cat, where it meows weakly. Here's one old cat, he says. From the grass, the deer picks up a very old gray and white cat, wearing spectacles and holding a wooden cane. And we're going to find our own too old cat. Here's one old cat, or maybe a too old cat. So there's our too old cat. Nice little addition to the show. Greg runs over to the schoolhouse and finds a scruffy brown and white cat, where it meows weakly. Here's one old cat, he says. From the grass, the deer picks up a very old gray and white cat, wearing spectacles and holding a wooden cane. You found another one, says Greg, but pauses. Wait, no, I think that cat is too old. Sorry, kitty, we'll have to find another old cat. The too old cat meows weakly, while the raccoon pours it a jug of milk into a bowl and pats its head apologetically. Jeffrey, I think there's one behind you, says Greg. The possum looks over to the bushes where raspy breathing can be heard while rustling follows after them. Greg approaches the bush, but is surprised to see that a tall gorilla jumps out at them. Gorilla! Yells Greg. Run! Greg and the animals scatter, frightened by the gorilla. Meanwhile, Miss Langtree is still singing her song while her words are still depressing about Jimmy. Wirt sits in the box listening, while Beatrice sits near Wirt. Hey, dunce, says Beatrice. This is dreadful. Good, responds Wirt. I'm glad you feel that way. Suddenly, a bell tolls from outside. I remember Huh? says Miss Langtree. From outside, Greg and his animal friends are hanging onto the bell, yelling out, Gorilla! But from inside, Miss Langtree says, Mealtime already? Well, come along, children. Back to the outside, Greg and the animals land on the ground, but are chased around a tree by the gorilla. Many of the animals are chased by the possum, but the possum is hanging from a high branch by its tail and holding a sturdy stick. He swings a couple times, missing the gorilla. He waits until the gorilla becomes confused and is standing underneath the possum. Spitting on his hands to get a better grip on the stick, the possum swings and hits the gorilla on the head, knocking it unconscious to the ground. Greg gives a thumbs up before they begin to head into the schoolhouse. We don't want to be late for mealtime, says Miss Langtree. My father will be visiting today, and we'll need to be on our best behavior. The animal students file into a different room while Greg and the rest of his animal friends rush into the schoolhouse as well. They all end up in a room with long tables, each set with a plate of food and a glass of water. Miss Langtree sits at one corner of the room, playing on a piano with a portrait of Jimmy Brown hung above it. Oh boy, exclaims Greg, mealtime! This is way better than being chased by a gorilla. The possum sniffs his food, takes a bite, and groans. What's the matter? Asks Greg as he takes a bite of his potatoes. Kind of bland. The rest of the animal students have a sullen expression on their faces, representing their disgust to the bland food. A sad tune from the piano is played by Miss Langtree. Wirt begins to take a bite, but is interrupted by Beatrice. Hey, she says, nobody ordered you to eat yet. Yeah, but begins Wirt, but puts down his food. Greg looks over the sad scene before he realizes something. Hey, I know what to do, he says, and runs over to the piano. Here, Miss Langtree, play something like this. Greg hits random notes on the piano, creating a mashing discord of tunes, startling Langtree. Oh, like this? She asks, and begins to play a pleasant mid-tempo swing rhythm. Good enough, says Greg. Grabbing a jug of molasses and his plate of potatoes, Greg begins to sing his own song called Potatoes and Molasses. And we'll see if we can find that. There you go.
Potatoes and molasses. If you want some, just ask us. They're warm and soft like puppies in socks, filled with cream and candy rocks. Oh, potatoes and molasses. They're so much sweeter than algebra class. If your stomach is grumbling and your mouth starts mumbling, there's only one thing to keep your brain from crumbling. Oh, potatoes and molasses. If you can't see 'em, put on your glasses.
Potatoes and
They're
molasses.
shiny and white like a fisherman's Now you've eaten enough when you start seeing stars. Oh, potatoes and molasses. It's the only thing left on your toast. Plus the short end stuff to make everyone shout for potatoes and molasses.
Potatoes and Molasses. One of the best songs. During the song, Greg hands off the molasses to the other animals who spread it over their potatoes. Eventually, some of the animals pull out instruments and add to the pleasant tune. Everyone in the room is nodding along happily to the song. Also, during this moment, the gorilla peeks inside the room but is hit in the face with a piece of potatoes and molasses. Suddenly, as Greg sings out the last for potatoes and molasses, an older man wearing a gray coat, a black hat, and wearing glasses barges into the room.
That's enough, demands Mr. Langtree.
Father, says Miss Langtree, startled.
Is this what I've been paying for?
He asks angrily, pointing his finger across the room. Hey, interrupts Greg. We just wanted to have a little fun.
I didn't invest in this school for fun, he replies sharply. I thought we were trying to do important work here, teaching animals to count and spell.
We are, answers Miss Langtree. Oh, please, Father, don't close the school. It won't happen again.
I should say it won't,
he says as he goes around the room, snatching the instruments away from the animals.
This and this are all coming with me. Now send them to bed.
You heard, Father, says Miss Langtree. Off to bed with you. The animals sigh, and with sad faces, they march off into separate rooms. Everyone has pajamas on as they all climb into beds as they are lined up in one room. All the animals are sad as they sniffle and sigh. I just wanted to have fun, says Greg to his frog. Change the world and make it a better place. But I just made everything worse. The frog croaks in response.
Rawr.
Okay, Wirt, says Beatrice at the bed next to Greg, where Wirt's hair is ruffled and he's tucked in. I'll admit it. You seem like a pushover, but you're not. Oh, says Wirt. Deep down in your heart, you're a stubborn jerk. When are you going to give this up? Maybe never. Maybe I'll never give this up. Yeah, Wirt's right, says Greg. Never give up. Come on, Wirt, let's go save the day. Okay, if you say so, shrugs Wirt. Greg tosses a tight-together length of blanket while they all escape the room into the night. Owls hoot in the distance and crickets chirp. It is well into the night. So, what's the plan, Greg? asks Wirt. Plan? Repeats Greg. Oh, I don't know. From within the woods, they hear a familiar voice. They stealthily creep up against a bush, where they see Mr. Langtree hunched around the instruments that he had taken from the animals.
Oh, who would have thought making a primary school for animals was a bad idea?
Mr. Langtree wonders to himself.
My life savings, my home, everything I had went into that dear, dear school, and now I'm forced to sell these instruments just to keep it open. All the while, that loathsome Jimmy Brown is off gallivanting who knows where, not to mention that wild gorilla on the loose. If something would go right for a change.
Mr. Langtree curls up under a makeshift tent that he had made with an extended trombone and his jacket. He begins to snore loudly. Okay, I think he's asleep, whispers Greg. Let's go steal his stuff. What? says Wirt and Beatrice, shocked. As morning arrives the next day, Mr. Langtree is awakened by a small drop of water. Once awake, he realizes that all the instruments are gone, and he is left alone.
The instruments, he gasps. They've been stolen! Who would do such a thing? Huh?
He is alerted to music from beyond the bushes, and when he brushes them aside, he sees the animal students on top of a small stage, performing their songs in front of some local people who are graciously giving coins for a fundraising for the school.
What is this?
Asked Mr. Langtree, approaching Wirt and Beatrice with Miss Langtree nearby. It's a benefit concert, answers Wirt, for the school. Ah, isn't it grand, comments Miss Langtree. All these fine people giving out the goodness of their hearts. Not like my Jimmy Brown. Oh, here we go, sighs Beatrice. All he ever did was steal my heart away, says Miss Langtree. Just then a shadow appears over her. Gorilla! Shouts Greg from the stage. The gorilla figure towers over Miss Langtree, screaming and waving its arms in front of her.
Young man, do something, says Mr. Langtree.
Wirt closes his eyes and runs toward the gorilla. However, he trips over his own shoelaces and tumbles straight into the gorilla. When he does, the head of the gorilla pops out like it's made out of a costume. The crowd gasps. From within the gorilla costume, a man with a curly mustache and blonde hair sighs as he gets up.
Ah, finally,
Says the man. Jimmy? Asks Miss Langtree.
That's right, darling,
He answers.
I was the gorilla.
But why did you do it?
Got a job in the circus so I could finally buy you that wedding ring. But when I got stuck in the dang suit, everyone was too doggone scared to help me out.
Oh, Jimmy.
Darling,
Everyone cheers as Jimmy and Miss Langtree hug.
I guess the world really is as sweet as potatoes and molasses,
Comments Mr. Langtree. As he says this, Greg starts up the band again with a song of potatoes and molasses. So, says Wirt to Beatrice, want me to tell Greg it's time to get going? Nah, let him have his fun, she answers. Greg continues to lead the band on stage by waving a baton. Hey, Wirt, says Beatrice, tie your shoes. Oh, okay, says Wirt, and finally ties his shoes. Yeah, there you go. Chapter 3, done. So, yeah. catchy song, potatoes and molasses. It's very good. I think we all can agree to that one. I know that there was a song that I really like. This one. So that little chase scene when Greg and the animals are chasing around that gorilla. It's always really fun to. I don't know, something about that whimsical song for that one. It's fun. It's just called the Runaround Gorilla Rag. It's fun. But yeah, that is chapter 3, Schooltown Follies. I know that chapter 3 doesn't really seem to have a lot of popularity, I guess, besides potatoes and molasses, because that's the big highlight of the episode. Everyone has their own money for school is great too. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Schooltown Follies isn't really like the popular episode, except for that little snippet of potatoes and molasses. But hey, I think every episode of With Carnival is great. So, but yeah, it's always fun to go back on it too, because this is kind of like the more, like I said, whimsical episode, more fun, more lighthearted, I guess, before everything kind of takes a turn for the darker side, I guess, especially with the next chapter here. But hopefully I did a good enough job with Mr. Langtree. Obviously, I can't do too well with like the female voices, obviously. But fun times. And if you guys are ready for the next chapter, I will go on to the next chapter if you guys are ready for that. And thank you guys for sticking along. If you have, hopefully you guys enjoyed seeing Toby again. And the whole the whole line of like, "Hey, dunce, this is dreadful." I don't know, something about just the word dunce is always really funny too. Did a good job. Thank you very much. I'm trying my best. So it's a show that I really love. So I'm doing my best to see if I can do what I can without editing. Because originally when I did like Enoch's voice and stuff like that, or the Beast voice, I had a layered voice so that it makes it more ominous. So that basically isn't included in this. And obviously the music isn't particularly in this because it's a live stream. So hopefully the songs that I have for you guys are enough, I guess. So I think I'll just go right into chapter 4 if you guys are ready for that. Chapter 4, definitely the turning point of the story, where it basically becomes a lot more dangerous for Wirt and Greg after chapter 4 is done. So we'll probably just get right into it. All right. Well, go into chapter 4, Songs of the Dark Lantern. Very fun. So let's get into it. Rain pours down into the dark forest as the day has shifted into night. The woodsman saunters through the woods with his lantern, finding a black turtle near a tree. As he finds this, he hears a panicked yelp from an older man with a gray beard, a hat, and cape, riding on top of a carriage full of hay while it's being pulled by a frantic horse.
"Oh no!" exclaims the man. "The beast is upon me!"
At the bottom of the haystack, there is a quack from a duck. "Shh," says Greg, from within the hay, popping out to check on his surroundings. "Greg," calls out Wirt quietly, "is there a beast out there?" Greg scans what he can in front of him, but only sees the darkened forest and the dirt road the carriage is riding on. Says Greg, and hides back in the hay, where Wirt, Beatrice, and Greg's frog are. "I found a duck. Do you know how to make eggs from a duck? I'm hungry." "What about the beast?" Wirt asks again.
"The beast is upon me,"
yells the man from the carriage.
"I didn't see any beast," responds Greg. "That driver is nuts."
Nuts. Phew, well, that's good, says Wirt. Good, says Beatrice, worried. That crazy driver is taking us way off course. Really? Asked Wirt. Yeah, who knows where we are by now with that guy acting all bananas. Ooh, banana nut duck bread, mumbles Greg. Just then, lightning strikes, startling the horse and causing the carriage to tip to one side. The haystack tumbles out, and so does Wirt, Greg, and Beatrice, along with the ducks and Greg's frog. Further down the road, there is a solitary building made of stone and has a steep roof. There is a light inside, and on the second story, a silhouette is presumably watching them. Lightning flashes quickly to reveal an older man wearing black goggles, a lumpy red hat, and a red coat. To the side of the building is an open stable with the white horse inside. Well, finally some good luck, says Beatrice. Let's go into this creepy tavern and ask for some directions. But it's creepy, responds Wirt. Well, why don't you guys go ask for directions and I'll just wait? No, wait, I don't want to be out here by myself. How about you guys? Just go to the tavern, yells Beatrice. Okay, says Wirt as they all begin to head towards the building. I'm hungry, adds Greg. Little do they know, the woodsman had followed the trail, and he watches them carefully from behind the trees. Meanwhile, at the front door of the tavern, Wirt struggles to open the door, but it's stuck. He peeks inside and finds that a scruffy dog blocks the way inside. Oh, excuse me there, Wirt says, and he pushes open the door and the dog rolls to its size. Excuse me? The visitors enter inside and find a crowded place. Most of the people inside are sitting around tables, talking quietly amongst each other. There's a down-tempo style of music playing while whistling is heard at the forefront. There's a warm firelight at the back of the tavern, keeping the place cozy and lit. The band that plays dreary music is off to the left on the small stage. Wirt, Greg, and Beatrice find an empty table, and Wirt sits down. You wait here, says Greg to his frog as he sits down in the chair. I'll get some food. The frog winks at him in return. Well, at least it has music, shrugs Wirt. Just then, a woman in a black dress with an apron on, wearing a bonnet and holding a broom, approaches them. Well, hey there, Peachpot, she says in a squeaky voice. What you doing around? Hey, what's that bird you got there? It's, begin Wirt. I am Beatrice, she introduces herself. These two sweet kids and I got a bit lost in the... Beatrice is hit with the broom by the woman. No birds allowed in my tavern, she demands. No birds allowed on you. It's a bad omen when a bluebird enters your door. Lady, bluebirds are good luck. We bring joy and happiness to... Beatrice is hit again with the broom. Good luck, bad luck, I don't need any of it. Beatrice hides behind Wirt. Curse you, lady, yells Beatrice. Curse you. You'll die someday and I'll laugh. Laugh. Wirt gets hit by the broom now and he falls off the chair. Forget this. I'm out of here, says Beatrice angrily. Wirt, you get directions. Wait, no, please, Wirt. I don't want to. Just do it, she screams. Beatrice leaves the room and the dog from earlier closes the door and plumps back on the floor. Who are you two anyway? Asks the woman to Wirt and Greg, who has just returned with 2 plates of food. Bringing bad luck to my tavern. I'm Wirt, and this is Gregory. A horse snorts from outside the window. And that's a horse, exclaims Greg. That's great, says the woman. But who are you? I'm Wirt. I'm just a guy, I guess. What do you mean? The woman goes around the room, introducing all the people inside the room who have their own unique voices. Well, he's the butcher. I'm the butcher. The baker. Yeah. The midwife. The midwife coughs up an entire fish. The master and apprentice. The The master pulls the apprentice close to him as he's tied with a rope. The tailor groans sadly. And I'm the tavern keeper, she finally finishes as another mysterious figure appears next to her. Who are you? I'm hungry, exclaims Greg, waving the now empty plates in his hands. I don't know, says Wirt. I don't really like labels. I'm just sort of myself, you know?
Maybe he's simple,
grumbles the master. No, I'm just lost. See, we're trying to get to the
I'm the highwayman,
announces the man on the stage, wearing a red shirt, brown pants, and a pointy hat. He has a scruffy-looking face with white eyes and black goggles around his head. He was the figure that was watching them earlier. Okay, says Wirt. Good to know. Well, so, you see,
I'm the highwayman,
says the man again. A mid-tempo music begins to play as the highwayman begins to chant his own personal song and dance in an odd manner.
I'm the highwayman. I make ends meet, just like any man. I work with my hands. You cross my path, I'll knock you out, run you off the road. Steal your shoes from off your feet. I'm the highwayman. And I make ends meet.
Everyone loves the highwayman. The highwayman. There's a loud applause from the crowd. Craig brings over more food for him and Wirt. They both sit down and have a quick breather. Meanwhile, Beatrice is outside in the stables next to the building. A horse is there, eating a bundle of hay. The rain continues to pour outside. Hey, says Beatrice, looking over to the horse and gives a surprised look. Are you wearing lipstick? The horse licks off what clearly looks like lipstick before smacking its lips and snorting happily. From within the forest, both Beatrice and the horse hear a loud melodious singing. There is a faint light in the woods as well. Who's out there? Asks Beatrice, pointing to herself and to the horse as the song echoes into the forest. What kind of person goes out chopping trees in the middle of a thunderstorm at night? What kind of person talks to a horse? The horse neighs and laughs oddly. Ooh, ah. From inside the tavern, Wirt stands over everyone in the room. He sees the master with his apprentice, but the master is having an arm wrestle with the midwife. Near the fire, a toy maker, an older man with a green apron over a simple shirt, holding a toy in one hand and a paintbrush in the other, laughs heartily to himself. Wirt sighs as he stands up and approaches the toy maker. Excuse me, says Wirt. I was wondering if you knew the way. Her name is Adelaide, and it's a girl you're after, eh? Guesses the toy maker. No, I mean yes, but you're not the witless, simple-minded fool everyone takes you for. Everyone thinks you're the young lover. What? Young lover? No. If you really want to get with this Adelaide gal, well, here's what you gotta do. The toy maker begins his own song with the other unique characters to help him out and dance along with him. And we'll skip ahead to this. Fun song.
Write a loving letter, boy, that sleeps and curls. Calligrapher's just the thing to help you win your girl. Then you'll need to dress up smart, the tailor's here by chance. Stitch your trousers, hold your belt, and find culture of friends. Your shoes, my goodness, how they're worn, but you're too young to know. Nothing courts the woman's scorn more than scuffs on the toe. The cobbler can attend to that, meanwhile you must have cake. The baker and the TCA need work, for goodness sake. I-dee-diddly-um-de-dum today. What a merry time we'll have upon your wedding day. I-dee-diddly-um-de-dum today. There's work for all the little boys getting married.
There's shouts of applause from all around, and they lift up Wirt in celebration. No, stammers Wirt. You guys, I'm not getting married. I'm just trying to find... The toy maker continues his song. And while the song continues, the rain continues to pour outside, where Beatrice remains next to the horse, who looks inside. Beatrice sighs. If I have to be outside, she says to herself, then those jokers do too. Just then, Greg pokes his head out of the window. Oh, hey, Beatrice, he says. Do you want some food too? No. How's Wirt doing getting directions? Pretty good. They both look around to see Wirt being tossed in the air by the tavern people, whooping and celebrating. Ugh, sighs Beatrice, and flies back outside to rest on the horse's head. What about that woodsman? I bet he knows these woods better than anybody, huh? All right, horse. Good riddance. The horse neighs and laughs in response while Beatrice flies off into the dark forest, closer to the lantern light inside. Meanwhile, there are loud cheers from inside the tavern. Wirt is still being lifted up. Lover, lover, the crowd cheers him on. No, you guys, stammers Wirt. Adelaide isn't, I'm just... Young lover, says the midwife. Sing us your love song. Love song, repeats Wirt.
Yeah, lover,
Yells the butcher.
sing us your love song.
No, I don't have a...
Sing, lover, sing,
chants the crowd.
Sing, lover, sing.
Wirt gets thrown down onto the stage with the musicians.
Sing, lover, sing.
Wirt stammers as he vocalizes nervously and noticeably off key. And I think there might be that song here. Possibly. No, there isn't. So after his noticeably off-key song, if you guys remember it, because I guess it's not part of the soundtrack here.
This ain't no love song,
grumbles the butcher.
It's a metaphor,
sniffles the tailor. Keep it together, tailor, says the tavern keeper.
Hey,
yells the butcher. Yes, asks Wirt.
I know what you are. You're a pilgrim.
What, like the guys who eat turkey and cranberry sauce?
No, you're a pilgrim,
announces the butcher as he lifts up Wirt to his shoulders. A pilgrim? Repeats Wirt.
You're a traveler on a sacred journey,
answers the butcher.
You're the master of your own destiny,
adds the master. As the master.
The hero of your own story,
proclaims the baker. A pilgrim, says Wirt to himself, happy. Tell us your feats, pilgrim, says the baker. What other challenges have you overcome? Regale us with your travels, pilgrim, adds the master. One time, says Greg, Wirt fell on a gorilla. The crowd cheers. And help me find this frog, Greg adds. More cheers from the crowd. More, tell us more, says the midwife. Let the cat out of the bag, says the tailor. We want to hear it. Oh, and, begins Wirt, I met this helpful woodsman who told us which direction to avoid the beast. The crowd gasped at the mention of the beast, and Wirt falls to the floor. Oh, you guys have heard of the beast too, huh? He asks. We all know the beast, pilgrim, says the tavern keeper before she begins to sing her song about the beast, a melancholic and dark tune. And let's see if I can find that song.
He lurks out there in the unknown, seeking those who are far from home, hoping never to let you return. Better beware. Ooh, the beast is out there. Ooh, better be wise and don't believe his words. Watch your will begins to spoil. He'll turn you to a tree of oil, and use you in his lantern for to burn.
Spooky song. Wait. Lantern, Wirt asks. The woodsman was the guy with the weird lantern, not the beast. Pilgrim, says the tavern keeper. He who carries the dark lantern must be the beast. What? No. The woodsman's a good guy. He warned us of the beast and told us which direction to go to avoid him. And now you're more lost than ever, huh? Yeah, but... Oh, yeah. Can you give us some directions? Our friend Beatrice is trying to take us to Adelaide of the pasture, the good woman of the woods. She can help us get home. You don't need direction, pilgrim, says the apprentice. You follow that compass inside your heart. No, says Wirt. I think we need directions. Just then Beatrice screams from the distant trees outside. Beatrice, yells Wirt. Go save your friend and get yourself home, says the tavern keeper. The rest of the crowd cheers him on while he and Greg burst outside and try to find Beatrice. Oh boy, he says. I guess I'm really doing this. Horace, I'm just going to pretend like I can ride you, all right? Wirt opens up the stable doors, hops on top of the horse, and picks up Greg while they charge into the woods. Along the way, Wirt picks up a small lantern hung by a tree. Along the way through the dark woods, the wind picks up as the darkness surrounds them. Wirt spots another odd tree with distorted faces in the bark, as if they were carved there, representing fright and agony. Another one of those trees, says Wirt.
Halt!
Exclaims the woodsman. Wirt and Greg turn to see the woodsman holding his lantern in one hand and the axe in the other. It's you, says Wirt, startled. Hey, Mr. Woodsman, greets Greg.
I told you to leave these woods,
yells the woodsman. Wirt turns to see that beneath the woodsman is Beatrice, knocked unconscious and laying still on the roots of the trees. Beatrice, Wirt exclaims. You're turning into an Edelwood tree. You were the beast all along. The woodsman stares them down just as Wirt blows out the candle. The woodsman turns around frantically before he sees the horse rear up behind him. Wirt and Greg already dismounted, while Wirt grabs the woodsman's legs.
What is this? Asked the woodsman angrily.
Greg, get Beatrice, demands Wirt. Greg scoops up Beatrice, but sees that the woodsman has pinned Wirt up against the tree.
What are you doing?
Yells the woodsman.
Boys, the beast is upon you. No!
Wirt kicks the lantern from the woodsman. The remnants of the lantern lights up the entirety of the Edelwood tree in front of them. The woodsman gasps in horror. As he stands there in front of the flames, Wirt and Greg make their escape with Beatrice on the horse. Greg's frog holds Beatrice still. Beatrice, you all right? Asks Wirt as she awakens. Yeah, I just, responds Beatrice. I saw a weird shadow and then stupidly flew into a tree and got knocked out. Oh, well, we're all right now, Wirt assures her. Wirt was amazing, announces Greg. He sang a song, rode a horse, and saved you from that axe guy. He's the pilgrim. That's all well and good, says Beatrice, but you were supposed to get directions. I did, says Wirt. We just got directions from Fred before you woke up. Who? Asks Beatrice. Oh, Beatrice, meet Fred the horse. Nice to horse your acquaintance, greets Fred happily. You can talk? Exclaims Beatrice. Fred the horse neighs and laughs as they head deeper into the forest. Meanwhile, the woodsman has gathered his supplies again before he hears an ominous and deep voice from within the woods.
It seems you're running out of oil, woodsman, sneers the beast. Why not let me take the lantern for a while?
The woodsman looks into the woods to see an entirely black silhouette of a figure with glowing white eyes and what appears to be branches sticking out of its head.
Begone, beast,
yells the woodsman.
I fought you for the lantern before, and I'll fight you again.
No need for violence, woodsman, but be sure to keep it lit, or your daughter's flame will go out forever. The woodsman looks at the lantern, where he hears an ethereal laugh of a child coming from it.
Now, what direction did those children go? Asked the beast. You leave those children be, demands the woodsman. Beast!
The beast laughs before he leaves into the woods, chanting his song. And I'll see if I can find that song. We'll see. Well, there's that. Well, there isn't really the song, but everyone kind of knows the beast song, the haunting song that he has. And that is the end of chapter 4, Songs of the Dark Lantern. Definitely the turning point of the story as the beast actually shows up, halfway through the story. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, hi, Dylan. I don't know if you're still watching or not, but hi, how's it going? How's it being in a different state? I'll try to read you to sleep. We'll see. Still another couple hours. Yeah, Wirt got abused in that tavern. Yeah, definitely. He just wanted directions. That's all he really wanted. And yeah. They all just like, no. He's the young lover. It's always fun. It's just like he didn't even get directions until he got onto the horse, which is kind of funny. So like the tavern people didn't even give him what he asked for. So they're just like, oh, you go on your own personal journey or something like that, which is always kind of funny. But yeah, the tavern keeper giving Betty Boop vibes. I think the actual character of the tavern keeper was based on Betty Boop. Just like her squeaky voice, like the appearance, like kind of like the round head, like all the wide eyes, I guess you could say. I think I remember reading or listening to something that she was actually based off of that character. So definitely makes sense that she acts like that. Yeah, I think that's good for chapter 4. Yeah, how are you guys hanging on there? I don't know. There's a few of you here on live, so if you guys are enjoying it, let me know. Because now that we are halfway through the story, I'm going to take like a minute break here. Kind of like an intermission, I guess you could say. If you guys don't mind. Just so I can kind of stretch and refill my tea here, so my voice can be at least a little bit decent for you guys. So I'm going to have a quick minute break, a little intermission for you guys, and I'll go right back into it. So I will be right back. Okay. What's Toby doing? Toby is in his favorite Amazon box. He's sleeping. Okay. Just needed a nice little refresher here before we go back into the story here. There probably won't be any music in this chapter here, as most of it's kind of like instrumental, kind of like the classic orchestra music. So yeah, being a too old cat. Yeah, too old cat. Toby's being that too old cat, that gray and white kitty with his little boots and socks. So I guess he's listening to it too. I already lulled him to sleep, so there you go. But I think we're just going to go into the next one here. Now that I can... Alrighty. So for the few of you guys who are listening, are you guys good? You guys are listening still? You guys ready for the next chapter? Because I definitely am. I'm ready for the next chapter. It's been very fun. Ready. Thank you guys again for staying this long, actually. Yeah, it's been about an hour and a half. Yeah, so makes sense. Halfway through, so thank you guys for sticking with the the story here. It's been very fun. Been very, very fun. So we're gonna go right back into it here. Make sure I got the correct song ahead of me, and we're gonna go into the next chapter here, which is chapter 5, Mad Love. With the two brothers and Beatrice escaping safely from the ominous threats of the woodsman, the travelers end up at a large mansion, nestled at the borders of the forest, where three peacocks called out loudly. Inside the mansion, there is a lovely orchestral music played while Quincy Endicott, the owner of the mansion, has laid out full-course meals for Wirt, Greg, and Beatrice, while Fred stands off to the opposite side of the table. In this dining room, it is neatly decorated with full bookshelves, plenty of dishes full of food, and a warm fire in a hearth. Quincy is dressed in a fancy purple coat with pins and badges, wears a simple white bow tie, and has gray slick-back hair.
Yes, tea, exclaims Quincy. That's my trade. Quincy Endicott's health tea.
Your tea sounds good, compliments Greg.
Ha! Never touched the stuff myself.
Blech, me either.
Aha, yes, it's all for the money. Yes, the money takes my mind off my troubles, the deep, soul-crushing loneliness. Yes, the more money I make, the bigger my mansion gets, the more lost I feel.
Quincy sobs but instantly recovers.
Why, this house is so big, I sometimes don't even know where or who I am.
Greg and Beatrice look at him with worry, but Greg doesn't mind. Yeah, well, says Beatrice, gesturing to Wirt and Greg, I'm glad your nephews here were able to pay you a visit. Yeah, encourages Greg.
Yes, agrees Endicott. What a pleasure it is to have company. A perfect pleasure, lads. A perfect, yes.
Aha, yeah, perfect pleasure, Greg says in a sing-song pattern. Beatrice, asks Wirt, why are you pretending I'm this guy's nephew? We need money, answers Beatrice. You're scamming him? I was thinking more like flat-out stealing from him. What? No way. Why not? We already stole a horse. Hey, guys, says Fred, the talking horse. No, we didn't, says Wirt. Fred's a talking horse. He can do whatever he wants. I want to steal, says Fred nonchalantly. Wirt gasps in shock. What? He says. You guys are bonkers. If we're going to Adelaide's, explains Beatrice, we need 2 cents. Fred nods in agreement. Well, says Wirt, you guys do what you... 2 cents? Only 2 cents? Yeah, says Beatrice. We need 2 pennies to take the ferry to Adelaide. From behind them in a separate hallway, Quincy calls out to them.
Ha! Come everyone, he shouts. Let us retire to the parlor and enjoy my unnecessary excess of wealth and luxury.
Quincy laughs as he disappears with Greg and his frog. Well, says Wirt, maybe he just has some loose change somewhere he wouldn't mind us taking. Both Beatrice and Fred nod and hum in agreement before they follow Quincy and Greg into the parlor room, where it's decorated with a plethora of paintings and frames and has another burning hearth for comfort. On top of some shelves, there is an assortment of fine china and pottery. More of the orchestral and classical music plays in the background.
Behold, nephew, exclaims Quincy, the majesty of wealth.
Ooh, says Beatrice and Fred together, examining the pottery.
What was that? Shouts Quincy.
Oh, what's wrong, Uncle Endicott? Asks Greg, who sits on top of Quincy's shoulder. Your forehead is all sweaty.
My nerves, answered Quincy shakily. My nerves are a bust these days.
How come? Asked Greg. Quincy puts Greg down while Wirt, Beatrice, and Fred look at Quincy again with worry and concern.
Yes, begins Quincy, stammering. Maybe it would be good to talk to someone. Well, yes, actually, it began one day when I was exploring my exceedingly large and labyrinthine manor here. I happened upon a section of the house I didn't even recall building.
Endicott laughs nervously.
Isn't that funny? Must have been the old wing. But it was lit in a rather sort of eerie light, and I pressed on, and then I saw the painting of the most beautiful woman I've ever seen.
Endicott's vision switches over to a view of a large golden-framed portrait of a woman dressed in a blue and white dress, surrounded by flowers and plants, before he continues. And that's when things took a rather strange turn. From that day on, I was obsessed with the woman in the portrait. She consumed my every thought. I'd fallen in love. With a ghost. Wirt and Greg gasp in fright while Fred looks at a giant Faberge egg. It's too big, says Beatrice, who sits on top of Fred's head. Get a grip.
Oh, I must sound crazy, says Quincy. Mustn't I? Perhaps it's time for you all to leave my treasure-filled home.
No, says Beatrice and Fred. Yeah, Unky, shouts Greg. I want to see the ghost.
Oh, how I long to see her just once again as well, says Quincy. Yes.
To the painting, announces Greg.
Yes,
agrees Quincy with a laugh. Oh boy, says Greg. A ghost hunt. Fred, go with them, says Beatrice. Buy me some time. While I'm at it, adds Greg, I'll steal other stuff too. Greg disappears into the hallway where Quincy, and Greg went off to. Meanwhile, the grandfather clock in the room with Wirt and Beatrice shifts several minutes ahead. Or hours, I think it is. The sofa's cushions and a table stand are overturned and a painting is laid on its side against the wall. Other furniture and several other paintings are tossed aside, while Wirt and Beatrice look for loose change in limited time. We're supposed to be looking for loose change, reminds Wirt. That's what I'm doing, says Beatrice, almost breaking a vase before Wirt catches it. Well, let's not try to break any more. Ah! Wirt's grip fails and the vase shatters on the ground. Oh, hey, you didn't check the arm wire, says Beatrice as they both move towards it. But there's a faint tapping noise, making the two of them panic. Endicott's back! Hide! Wirt and Beatrice hide in the armoire quickly. The tapping, however, only belonged to a stray peacock, pecking at the outside windows. Meanwhile, Greg and Fred are following Quincy Endicott, who leads them down a long hallway filled with numerous paintings. Quincy holds a single candle in a tray as he leads them forward. Is that the portrait? Asks Greg.
No, answers Quincy.
Is that the portrait?
No. Look, why don't I just tell you when we reach the portrait?
Okay. What's the matter, Unky? You seem tense.
You know me well, nephew. Yes, the truth is, I'm frightened.
Of a ghost? Ghosts are just floaty things.
Oh, no, not afraid of the ghost. I mean, I'm afraid of what if there is no ghost? What if I'm on the brink of, madness? Maybe the doctors were right. Come along, boys, back to the parlor.
The parlor? Repeats Fred. Why would anyone want to go to the parlor for? There's nobody in the parlor. Certainly nobody after your money. There's an awkward pause as he says this. Yeah, no giving up now, old man, encourages Greg. It's gotta be a ghost.
But how can you be so certain?
Asks Quincy. Because I really, really want to see a ghost, answers Greg. Really bad.
Oh, says Quincy.
As they walk away, Greg and Beatrice remain hidden in the armoire. When they know that they're safe, they begin searching inside the wardrobe again. Okay, I think they're gone, says Wirt. Beatrice, you there?
Ah, yes, smart guy, answers Beatrice.
Start searching for change. I can't see anything in here, he says as he rustles through the coat in the darkness of the space. Well, I don't think these coats have pockets. Check the lining, suggests Beatrice. Maybe somebody sewed money into the fabric. Nope. Do people even do that? I've done it on my clothes. You wear clothes? Like a little bird vest or something? Or little bows? When I was a human, fool. You used to be human. Did I know that? I don't think I knew that. Jiminy Cricket, let's just find some coins, all right? Open the door. It's stuck. Well, I guess we have to spend some quality time together. Help! The scene shifts over to Quincy Endicott as he leads Greg and Fred into the greenhouse, full of plants scattered about the room and has a flowing fountain in the center.
The greenhouse, announces Quincy. This is where I grow my camellia for testing new teas. Perhaps we should savor the quiet tranquility of this place.
Everyone in the room takes a deep breath as they try to calm themselves. But just then, a tapping from the window can be heard, and the glass shatters as a wild peacock enters the room and produces a loud shrill.
Ah, ghost, ghost, shouts Endicott. I can't do it.
Quincy curls up in a ball on the floor in fright. Uncle Endicott, says Greg, it's just a funny chicken.
Yes, says Endicott, glancing up. One of my prize-winning roasting peacocks. Yes, with all this love in my brain, I forgot to feed them. It's almost as though I've lost my mind.
Greg gives him a curious glance. We can look for that after we find our ghost, he says. Heave ho! Quincy laughs.
Yes, heave ho! Into the abyss, never to return.
Anyone want to go back to the parlor? Asked Greg nervously. While the ghost hunt is activated once again, Wirt and Beatrice still remain in the armoire, wondering how to get out. Hey, are you still there? Asks Wirt. Yes, Wirt, Beatrice answers. I'm still here. So, how did you become a bluebird? Beatrice sighs in annoyance, but notices something in the distance. Hey, what's that? Don't change the subject, Wirt objects. There's a breeze coming out of here. Oh yeah, whoa, a secret entrance. Wirt lifts up a loose board where the breeze came from. They go through the trapdoor and enter into a stone room, leading downstairs. Wirt continues the conversation. So, about your dark secret, he says. Hey, why don't you tell me your dark secrets instead, huh? Beatrice asks in return. My secrets are too secret. Hey, look, light. Whoa, now who's avoiding the question? You, says Wirt. grasping a small window ahead. Fine. I threw a rock at a bluebird, and it cursed me and my family, and now we're all bluebirds. Happy? Now you go. Wirt looks at Beatrice with concern. Whoa, your whole family? Yeah. Is that why you're going to Adelaide's? To fix things? That was the plan, but yeah, that was the plan. It'll all work out. All I know is I am never going back until I can make them human again. I'd do pretty much anything. Wirt sighs. All right, my turn, huh? He says. Okay, well, it's weird to admit it, but, well, I have this crush on this girl. Mm-hmm. That's all. That's all? And I think about her a lot, and I play a clarinet. Wirt, you gotta be kidding me. And I secretly whisper poetry to myself at night. Wirt, that stuff's not weird. Those are just, well, the poetry thing is kind of weird. But those are just character traits. You play clarinet? Sort of. What else do you do? As they talk further, Wirt clambers out of the small window, which appears to be an empty fireplace. He moves the metal grate aside, climbing into another room while Beatrice flies herself free. I don't know. Hey, does this room look different to you? How so? The room itself has its walls decorated with gold lining and several paintings across the walls and columns. Wirt and Beatrice stand next to a fancy table with a tea-serving container. Wirt studies the room carefully. It's like French Rococo style. That doesn't really seem in line with Endicott's Georgian sensibilities. How? What? Who on earth am I talking to right now? Should I not know that sort of stuff? Endicott probably just built it without thinking, right? Or, whoa, yeah, what if the ghost he was talking about was actually... Wird's words are cut off as the scene transitions to Quincy, Greg, and Fred, who wander through a hallway filled with statues that line inside the columns between tall glass windows. Fred whimpers as they continue walking, and Endicott gestures toward a double-door entrance.
This is the room where, begins Quincy, the room where I first saw her.
Whoa! Exclaims Greg, but disappointingly reports, just a bedroom. The room is filled with decorations, including a vanity set, large paintings, chairs and sofas, a wardrobe, and a large bed. The visitors look over the room, but no movement is reported to be seen.
Just a bedroom, my nephew, repeats Quincy. This is the chamber of mine own true love, and here she stands, he says as he walks underneath the portrait of which he explained earlier of the woman in the blue and white dress, hovering above us like the blinding sun.
No ghost? Asks Greg.
No ghost, repeats Quincy. Then I am mad.
Don't be mad, says Greg. Hey, what's this suspicious mess over here? Greg walks over to the side of the bed, where a fallen tea set and an overturned chair are. Greg crosses his arms in curiosity. It looks like there was a struggle, suggests Fred, clasping his hooves to his face.
A violent struggle. Quincy's face squints. What are you implying? Asks Quincy, my equine friend.
Nothing. I'm just... Fred begins as he clasps Greg close to speak his mind. Endicott is a crazy lunatic who did away with the lady of the house, is now pretending to own the place.
What? Exclaimed Quincy. Who do you think you are, making accusations? I see it now. You're after my money. Do you know what I did for this money? The things the filthy hands have done to make this money?
I'll never steal again, I swear, apologizes Fred, covering his face in shame. I'll get an honest job.
And what say you, nephew? Asked Quincy, turning to Greg.
I'm confused, admits Greg.
Well then, Quincy says, but a ghostly wailing echoes from the hallway, causing him to panic. She comes for me!
Wait, Unky, says Greg. Face your fears. Quincy sees a figure approaching from the hallway beyond, and as he is quivering, he faints. On the other side, a woman with long brown hair and clad in a blue and white dress also faints at the sight of Endicott. The scene shifts as Wirt is trying to wake up Quincy, and Greg is shaking the woman awake also. Mr. Endicott, calls out Wirt. Are you all right? Psst, ghost, says Greg towards the woman. The woman wakes up when she sees Quincy hiding behind a cabinet.
What do you want with me, spirit? Says Quincy.
Spirit, exclaims the woman, but you're the ghost.
My lady, I assure you I am flesh and blood, and I welcome you to my home.
Your home? Good sir, you are in my home.
Impossible.
The scene shifts to where the woman is showing them to the same camellia garden that was shown earlier. However, the woman brushes over some vines to see a plaque that reads, Marguerite Gray Tea Company. Look here, she says. You see, this is my camellia garden,
for my tea company. Marguerite Gray, Quincy exclaims. Why, with all due respect, madam, this is my tea garden.
Quincy uncovers more vines, but on the opposite wall, where another plaque reads, Quincy Endicott Brand Tea. Quincy Endicott, exclaims Marguerite. Your guys' mansions are so huge, explains Wirt, that they're actually connected.
So you mean that beautiful ghost, says Quincy, was really just...
That dashing spectre was really just, says Marguerite. My business competitor, they gasp in unison before they lean in close to each other, hold hands, and give a quick kiss. Later, everyone is gathered outside of the combined mansions in a courtyard with fountains and statues. It's daytime, but even with new friends made, the adventurers need to depart. Fred has 2 barrels attached to a saddle, waiting for Quincy and Marguerite.
Well, Greg, my boy, announces Quincy, I can't thank you enough for helping me to face my fears. You're a sweet boy with good sense. Take this penny and start your fortune.
And here's one from me as well, adds Marguerite. Quincy and Marguerite hand Greg 1 penny each. Hey, nice, compliments Wirt. Now we can ride the ferry. Well, everyone, I think it's time we head to Adelaide the pasture, the good woman of the woods. What about you, Fred? Are you coming with us? No, thanks, says Fred humbly. I've got a real job now, as an official tea horse. Well, then, I guess that's it, concludes Wirt.
Off you go, the lot of you, says Quincy.
Goodbye, all 3 of them say together. Wirt, Greg, and Beatrice head out through a golden gate and walk past through well-trimmed shrubberies and another fountain. And don't forget to buy Endicott brand tea, chimes in Fred. Hey, Wirt, says Beatrice as they walk. You did good back there. Yeah, he says. You got a lot more going for you than I thought. Huh? Wirt and Beatrice look over to Greg, who tosses the coins into a murky fountain where one of the 2 catfish inside swallow the coins whole. Greg, gasps Wirt, our pennies! Why did you do that? Because Uncle Endicott pegged me all wrong, responds Greg grimly. I've got no sense at all. Greg's frog ribbits from underneath the silver teapot. Rawr. And that is the end of chapter 5. I can never really get the accent of Quincy kind of down, I can never really replicate it very well, but but yeah, Quincy is quite the character. Notice how Wirt blushed in the tavern before when he thought of Sarah. That would make sense, actually. Yeah. Because instead of them saying like, oh, well, I mean, he probably thinks of Sarah when they're like, sing us your love song. And he just probably thinks of Sarah. That would make sense, actually. So, yeah, Unky Endicott is quite the character. He's always really funny. He's definitely been one of my inspirations for I play D&D, and so a few of characters that I've made for my campaigns there's been a couple, I guess, a couple of Quincy Endicotts in my campaigns, and it's been very fun. So just the way that he portrays himself as this really rich guy. So yeah. But like I said, the music is mostly just kind of orchestral classical stuff. So nothing to play for this episode. But the next one, I think there will be, because it is another one of my favorites. So I think we're going to go right into the chapter again. So yeah, I know. You probably have noticed it. Yeah, it's been fun. Okay, we're going to go into chapter 6, Lullaby in Frogland. So, here we go. Fortunately for Wirt, Greg, and Beatrice, they managed to climb aboard the ferry, drifting swiftly through a river between fields of corn and a forest. Pleasant folk music plays while the passengers on board are busy with their own business. These passengers, however, are all frogs. They are all dressed in dapper outfits, croaking to one another on the main deck, where a crew member swabbed the deck. A small frog boy suddenly rides in on a large cockroach, startling the crew member and passengers. Meanwhile, the band that plays pleasant music is dressed in fancy red coats while being conducted with a frog who has the same outfit but with a tall hat and baton. More of the passengers happily sway and dance to the music. Inside the boat is the Captain Frog, who holds a telescope with one hand while steering the boat with the other. His constable sleeps atop a stool, drooling in deep sleep. The captain pulls a lever where a loud whistle sounds, startling the constable. Back on the deck, a few older gentle frogs are smoking bubble pipes blissfully. While the frog's commotion is happening, Wirt and Beatrice watch the river go by on the side of the boat, while Greg dances happily with his frog, keeping a rhythm to the music. Ah, what a nice way to spend our last day, sighs Wirt. Going to Adelaide's house. Our journey is finally over. Pretty soon I'll be back home. I won't have to worry about that woodsman or that beast or whatever, and you won't have to put up with us anymore. Bet you're pretty happy, huh, Beatrice? Beatrice pauses for a moment as she looks worried. Huh? Oh, yeah, sure. You all right? Asks Wirt. You sound uncharacteristically wistful. What? Sorry, just thinking. Wirt mumbles with concern. From behind him, though, Greg begins to sing about Adelaide once again. And I think I did have that song here.
Oh, we're going to the pasture to meet Adelaide. That's where she has a way to send us back where we came from. I don't know who she is or how she is or why she is, but that's where she is. She is where we will go. Adelaide, Adelaide, come on, join the Adelaide parade. Adelaide, to Adelaide, we're going to Adelaide's house today.
And yeah, that is Adelaide Parade. Always a fun one. Wirt laughs whimsically as he accidentally trips and falls. He stands back up in delight. Boy, finally going home, he says. Beatrice sighs as he looks out at the river again. Hey, what's with Beatrice? Asks Wirt to Greg. I don't know, shrugs Greg. What's with George Washington being naked? What? Says Wirt as Greg's frog turns around, standing on 2 feet. All the other frogs are dressed up nice, explains Greg. Wirt looks over to the rest of the frogs, who are dressed up nicely and are still croaking to one another. He's an outcast, continues Greg, and he's cold. Feel these cold feet. Greg's frog shivers in the breeze. No, he's supposed to be cold, Greg, says Wirt. He's a frog. But he's our frog. Well, he's not my frog, or she's not my frog. We don't really know his gender. Come on, George, gasps Greg. You're a manly frog, and you need some socks. Greg's frog croaks in response. Rawr. Just then, a loud whistle sounds, and 2 constables dressed in blue button-up uniforms point and spot the intruders. One of them has a baton. Uh-oh, says Wirt. It looks like we're in trouble. Greg gasps. It's because the president is nude, he yells. It's probably because you snuck on without paying, says Beatrice. Oh, yeah, Greg leads his frog with them. They rush past a couple who are taking their photos and accidentally crash into a waiter who carries a tray full of flies. The meal soars into the sky, and 3 fortunate frogs catch the flies instantly. Wirt leads them down the side of the boat before tricking the constables by riding the water wheel backwards and going the opposite direction. They crash another photo shoot where a couple is holding a handful of tadpoles, representing their children. They knock into the couple, scattering the tadpoles everywhere. Tadpoles! Exclaims Greg. Your babies! They manage to escape around the corner before one of the constables slips and falls because of the tadpoles. He continues to whistle angrily. Wirt and the company run through the helm. Greg stops for a second to salute the captain before he continues running. The constables run into the helm also and likewise salute the captain before pursuing the stowaways again. Wirt leads them into a storage room, quickly coming out into poor disguise as a single band member under the red coat, holding a drum. Greg's frog is on top, representing the band member, while Wirt and Beatrice are inside the coat, and Greg is inside the drum. Grumbles the constable, tapping his baton in suspicion. Good day, begins Wirt, moving Greg's frog slip with his own hands. Good day, gentlemen, he says in a lower voice. I must be going now to join the band. They begin to walk away. Wirt, drum me, Greg demands. Okay, says Wirt, and proceeds to hit the drum randomly. Ow, ow, ow. Wirt and Greg stand next to a few other band members. From within the coat, Beatrice talks with Wirt quietly. Wirt, sometimes you gotta face your problems, she says. Turn yourself in and get kicked off this boat. I don't think today's a good day to be arrested by frogs, says Wirt. Well, just then Wirt and Greg are shoved by the conductor, who is angry that they're not with the rest of the band. He shoves them up next to the band, who is warming up for their next song. Okay, everyone, says Wirt, act natural. Drum me, exclaims Greg. I said act natural, reminds Wirt. It is natural, responds Greg. I'm a drum. The conductor taps his waving baton, quieting the band before he and the band begin their song, another pleasant and mid-tempo song, instrumental for the time being. Wirt, drum me, says Greg again. Drum me in the face. Okay, says Wirt. Don't draw attention to us. Wirt raises his drumstick but ends up smacking a frog member in the face, causing the frog to fall off the stage. He tumbles through the crowd, gets tangled up in a waltz, and bumping into a waiter before falling down some stairs, slipping on one of the tadpoles, and falling off the boat. The fly food from the waiter ends up in the air again, where the same three frogs from before snatch them away immediately. No bassoon player. Uh-oh, says Wirt. The frog passengers begin to croak angrily and raise their fists. Ah, dog, exclaims Wirt. Those frogs really love the bassoon. More of the frogs raise their voices and pump their fists in anger. The constable looks around the scene and looks at Wirt and Greg's disguises, mumbling to themselves and tapping their batons in more suspicion. Oh no, Beatrice, whimpers Wirt. I'm too young to go to frog jail. Hey, why don't you play the bassoon, suggests Greg. That'll get us kicked off this boat for sure, he answers bluntly. No, Greg's right, says Beatrice, hearing the uproar. You should play it. Go ahead, you'll do fine. You play instruments, right? Yeah, but bassoon and clarinet are way different, Wirt explains. I don't have the embouchure for bassoon. I mean, the lower and middle ranges have some similarities in terms of... Wirt, you can do it, interrupts Beatrice. Seriously, nobody wants to hear me play, he says. I do, says Beatrice. I do, adds Greg. Greg's frog croaks loudly in response. Rawr. Wirt looks out of the angry frogs and pauses before he picks up the bassoon, and Greg drums himself. Wirt, says Beatrice. Yeah, here we go, says Wirt, quickly warming up the instrument. Surprisingly, though, as the song picks up again, Greg's frog begins to sing in a low and melodious tune, startling not just Greg, but the rest of the frog passengers. And we'll see if we can get that song up. There we go.
When the lake is a mirror and the moon rides the waves to the shore, a single soul sets his voice singing, content to be slightly forlorn. A song rises over the lilies, swoops high to clear over the reeds, over the bulrushes sway, to pluck at a pair of heartstrings. Two voices, now they are singing. Then 10, as the melody soars, round the shivering pond are joining in song as it carries their reverie on.
As the song continues and Greg's frogs lulls the frogs to waltzes, dances, and frog couples coming close to one another, Wirt turns to Beatrice from inside the coat. Hey Beatrice, he says, thanks for supporting my bassooning. Yeah, you're actually good, praises Beatrice. The best part is, we're still on track to get to Adelaide's. Yep, that's great, Beatrice sighs. You don't seem thrilled. Well, I don't want you to... Never mind. Meanwhile, as Greg's frog continues his song, he finishes with the line of carries their memory on before the coat drops and reveals the secret from within. Greg's frog clasps his hands to cover his shame while the rest of the frogs gasp in shock. The constable blows his whistle loudly, but is instantly shushed by the rest of the frogs. Wirt resumes the song with a little interlude and the singing continues.
Over the treetops and mountains, over the blackened ravines, and softly
As the song ends, sunset is nearing, and most of the frogs are sitting down or laying in peace and comfort. A frog couple stands at the edge of the boat, the gentle frog pointing at the sunset with delight. Ah, I knew you were special, sighs Greg. Later, the steamboat's whistle calls out for their landing. It is just past sunset, where the sky is dimming. A small dock leads the frogs into the banks of the river, where the lanterns from on top of the boat are their source of light. What are they doing? Asks Wirt, seeing that the frogs are hopping off board just to sink into the cold, deep mud with their outfits on. Looks like they're hibernating in the mud, guesses Beatrice. So where's Adelaide's house? Asks Wirt. Is it close? It's, stammers Beatrice. We should probably just go tomorrow, I think. We don't want to bother her too late, you know? What are we supposed to do? Just sit around in the mud with these frogs? Greg gasped in delight. I call that mud over there, he calls out, splashing deep into the mud along with his frog. Aha, yeah! As Wirt, Greg, and Beatrice wait out the night, sit around a small campfire while the other frogs are deep asleep. Greg is covered in dried mud. So then what? Asks Beatrice. Well, then I went to go talk to Sarah, says Wirt. I mean, like, really talk to her. You know, put all my cards on the table, you know? Yeah. And then Jason Funderburger comes out of nowhere and whisks her away. Ugh, Jason Funderburger, that guy, Wirt growls in disgust. Plus, Greg was around. He would have embarrassed me even more. Greg and his frog listen to Wirt's story intently. Greg pokes a dried leaf with a stick, where the leaf quickly engulfs in flames. Well, Wirt, says Beatrice, sounds like you're a real loser back home. Oh, thanks a lot, jokes Wirt. I mean, compared to how you are here. Here, you're like a hero and stuff, right? Am I? Well, I don't know if I'd say hero, but do you think I could be a hero too? Interrupts Greg. Huh? Greg looks over to see that his frog has walked over to a group of friendly frogs who end up offering him a record contract for his singing. You done good, Mr. President, compliments Greg, watching his frog. You done good. If I was you, continues Beatrice, I wouldn't even want to go home. Yeah, but I can't stay here forever, admits Wirt. Why not? Why not? Because I can't just... Well, yeah, maybe it is better to stay here. Great, then it's agreed, says Beatrice quickly. We're not going to Adelaide's. Good night, Wirt. Oh, what? Oh, good night, Beatrice, Wirt says softly. Later in the night, when everyone is asleep, Beatrice wakes up and peeks to see that Wirt and Greg are asleep as well. When she thinks the coast is clear, she flies off into the night, but ends up waking up Wirt. Beatrice, whispers Wirt. Greg, wake up. Huh? Says Greg as he's nudged awake, still covered in mud. Beatrice took off, he says. What? Come on. Greg looks over to his frog, who is being dressed by the captain and sitting in a mud chair, holding his record contract. Greg sighs deeply as he holds a painted rock, preparing to say goodbye. Come on, Greg, calls out Wirt. I'm coming, says Greg, following his brother. Flying under a half moon, Beatrice travels over some hills and fields, finding a small hut that is covered in vines and made of stone. There is only one small window and a wooden door in the front, but it also has a small chimney to the side. Beatrice flies through the chimney, tumbling out of it covered in soot and coughs. Inside there is an older, pale woman in a tall hat who is tracing together red yarn strings and lying in bed. Around the room, there is a candelabra lit in the corner, and the walls are covered in tapestries.
Close the flue, demands Adelaide in a cold, shaky voice. That fresh air does simply gruesome things to my tender, delicate skin.
Adelaide, we need to talk, says Beatrice.
Did you bring me what I asked for?
I found 2 brothers lost in the woods, but I can't give them to you, Adelaide. They need to go home.
Nonsense. I'll give them a wonderful home here.
That's what you said, but
can't you see I'm sick and helpless?
Adelaide covers her face and imitates coughing and sneezing poorly.
I'm all alone in the world, continues Adelaide. I want a child servant.
Servant? I thought you just wanted some yard work done.
Our arrangement,
says Adelaide, coming out of bed, where she is clad in a red dress,
was for you to bring me a child servant, and then I give you the scissors,
she says, bringing out a pair of golden scissors, designed with one side being a bird's feather.
To snip, snip, snip your family's wings away to make them human again.
What if I became your servant?
Ha! I need a big, strong child.
You can turn me into a human, can't you?
Oh, yes, scissors.
Yeah. So give me the scissors. I'll go help my family. And Beatrice gasps as she hears the door open, and Wirt and Greg enter the room to see her talking with Adelaide. Wirt, Beatrice exclaims.
Close the door, demands Adelaide. I'll catch my death of cold.
what's going on? Asks Wirt, worried. You shouldn't be here, says Beatrice. Adelaide? Wirt asks curiously.
Welcome home, children,
says Adelaide as she pulls on some string behind her, entangling the two brothers at once. Beatrice, what? Shouts Wirt. I thought we were friends.
And now they're mine, announces Adelaide. And once I fill their heads with wool, they'll become just like little sheep and follow my every command.
All along you've been leading us to this crazy lady? Wirt asks fiercely.
I do as he commands, continues Adelaide, the voice of the night, the beast of eternal darkness.
Beatrice grunts from behind as she opens up the small window, snuffing out the candle's light and where Adelaide begins to panic.
What are you doing? Yells Adelaide. The night air is poisonous.
Breathe it in, lady, says Beatrice. Wirt, Greg, let's go. Adelaide runs to the window as she begins to smoke from within herself, and her skin begins to melt like candle wax.
The deadly air!
Adelaide screams. Whoa, geez, exclaims Beatrice. She wasn't kidding.
It's fresh. No!
Adelaide screams the last time before melting into a puddle, surrounded by black smoke. Wirt, Greg? Beatrice calls out as she notices that both of them have already escaped and ran out the door. Greg, Wirt, it wasn't what it looked like. I was just... Please come back. Beatrice begins to cry as more smoke pours out of the house. She is left alone outside of the house at the beginning of a field. On the other hand, Wirt grumbles to himself as he and Greg are quietly walking through another trail in the dark forest. Wirt, what about Beatrice? Greg asks. Mumbles Wirt. I shouldn't have trusted anyone. Suddenly, there's a loud croak from behind them.
Rawr.
Huh? Greg turns around to see his frog jumping towards them from the mist of the forest. Benjamin Franklin! The frog croaks loudly as Greg happily picks him back up.
Rawr.
Hurry it up, Greg, says Wirt solemnly, as they both begin to walk deeper into the forest. And, yep, that is chapter 6. That's always a really fun chapter to go through. Something about the frogs are just really, really fun. It's always fun to watch it. I feel like this one's like that nice combination of amazing voice acting along with like that simple life of the frogs just living their best life. And, you know, they're just there on the boat and just chilling, listening to music. I feel like that would be so fun to do. Yeah, and it's always really fun too. There's a lot of good lines in the chapter, like the tadpoles, your babies. It's always really funny. I don't know why. It's just something like that. It's always really fun to do that. And then, of course, the whole reveal of Adelaide actually becoming or just being this awful. I guess you could say that she's like some sort of like witch. I would say she's a witch, but I mean, I don't know. It's kind of curious, I guess. A lot of people have their own thoughts on what Adelaide is because her and her sister, Ani Whispers, definitely have some weird power, I guess, going on. Especially with like the scissors being a magical item. So basically she has the magical item of the scissors and Ani Whispers has the bell. So I don't know. It's just kind of like weird how they both have these magical items with them. Cool to think about, but yeah, very fun. Frogs, very fun. I just like listening to the frogs too, where they're just kind of like up in an upright and they're like, it's always really fun. But I think that's kind of all I really had for that chapter. So I can basically go right into the next one. Make sure I got the next song ready to go. And we'll go into the next one here. So glad that you guys are still here. And it's fun. It's always fun to be narrating once again. Very fun. Never really did a project this big in a while. So we'll go right into chapter 7, which is The Ringing of the Bell, the spooky episode. A steady rain pours down the autumnal forest and fills the rushing river where Wirt and Greg are slowly making their way through. In the meantime, Beatrice remains in Adelaide's house, shuffling through various drawers and items. She stares out of the window solemnly, wishing she could go and help them. But Wirt leads Greg on through the damp and wet forest, shivering as he wraps his cloak around himself. Greg tries to catch his breath, walking through the difficult terrain. Where are we going? Asks Greg. We're walking, Greg, answers Wirt. But where? A place to wait out this rain. Oh, but shouldn't we wait for Beatrice? Wirt and Greg pause for a quick breath. I don't need Beatrice, he sighs. I'll figure this one out on my own. Oh, that's good. I'm glad you have a plan. Hey, Wirt. Wirt continues to walk with Greg next to him. What? He says. So, what's the plan? Because you're not saying any details, so it's hard for me. Greg, I do have a plan. And if you don't trust me, then you don't have to follow me, okay? If you want to go look for Beatrice, go ahead. You can do anything you want. Wirt walks on, but Greg pauses for a moment. Anything? Greg gasps in wonder. That's a lot of power. Just then, a loud crash from a falling tree sounds, where the tree lands right in front of Wirt, blocking their path. Wirt! Yells Greg. Oh no, did I knock that tree down with my powers? Sorry, are you okay? Yeah, says Wirt. That tree just came out of me from nowhere. Wirt traces his hands down to the stump, where there are obvious signs that this tree was cut down. Greg, look, axe marks. Someone chopped it down.
Indeed, 'twas I,
Came a familiar, gravelly voice from behind them. Wirt and Greg gasp frantically as the woodsman appears, wielding his axe. The lantern hung over his wrist and dressed in his usual dark coat and tall hat. Wirt and Greg begin to run away, but the woodsman grabs Wirt's arm.
Stop! Listen, warns the woodsman. The beast knows your presence, ready to claim you as part of his dark forest, but only if you give up.
Greg hides behind a mess of roots and fallen branches.
Keep hearty in both body and spirit, continues the woodsman, and you shall be safe from him. Fall ill or lose hope, and your life shall pass into his crooked hands.
As the woodsman looks away as if in deep thought, Wirt spots the lantern and kicks it away from the woodsman, managing to escape and running towards Greg. The woodsman panics to retrieve the lantern.
Children, please, heed my warning, he calls out to them. Boys, beware the beast.
Wirt and Greg stumble through a bramble of roots and sticks, but make their way out of the mess and further into the forest. Just then, in the depths of the woods, near to the woodsman, a deep, ominous voice calls out to him. Woodsman, it says, appearing behind a tree, its black silhouette, hiding most of its body, showing only extensive antlers, glaring at the woodsman with glowing white eyes. We should talk, says the beast. The woodsman glares at him with suspicion as thunder rolls through the heavy rain. Meanwhile, Wirt and Greg continue running until they find a small stone wall and clamber over it, out of breath. I think we lost him, guesses Wirt. Ha ha, you got him with the old kickaroo, cheers Greg. See, I got it under control. I don't need Beatrice. Now, to find some place to wait out this rain. Wirt scans through the forest. As long as it's not that old broken down, shh, it's perfect. Come on, Greg. Wirt and Greg both spot a rundown house made of a stone structure with a front door, windows, and loose or even missing boards as the ceiling. Trees have already begun to twist into the house, and the fence around its rough yard is bent and broken. Mist settles all around the brothers and across the house and its yard. Word, sighs Greg, but watches as Wirt walks towards it. Ain't that just the way? Greg follows Wirt into the house, where the inside is surprisingly comforting. Wirt is lighting various candles that are set on tables and shelves, while a lantern with engravings on it sits on one table. Greg dances around near to a fire that's burning in a hearth that has a pot over top of it. Different sizes of baskets can be found next to the fireplace. Greg's frog ribbits and croaks as Greg dances and hums to himself. This place isn't so bad, huh? Admits Wirt. Maybe, says Greg. Dum-da-dum-da-dum. Get that frog out of your pants. He can do what he wants. Hey, what's in these old baskets? Whoa! What? Wirt calls out as he walks over to them. We're rich! What? Look, it's full of black turtles. We're turtle rich. From inside one of the baskets, hundreds of black turtles are wriggling and climbing over each other. Greg gives one of them a small handshake and smiles down at them. Wirt groans in disappointment. You know, says Wirt, it's kind of funny finding a basket of turtles in an abandoned house, huh? Ha-ha, yeah, ha-ha, laughs Greg. Greg, not that kind of funny. Huh? Oh. From behind them, a door opens and a soft voice startles them. Auntie? Asks the voice. Auntie, I finished sorting. Wirt and Greg turn around to see a pale younger woman wearing a blue dress and a white bonnet over her dark brown hair. She gasps at seeing visitors. Who are you? She asks. We're burglars, shouts Greg. No, stammers Wirt, waving his hands. Well, we're not. We just needed to get out of the rain, and we thought this place was abandoned. So So we came here to burgle your turts, interrupted Greg. No, it's not true, says Wirt, trying to cover Greg's mouth. It is true, says Greg as Wirt wrestles into the ground. Okay, I give up. Ha, see? I believe you, says the woman, but looks worried. But please, hide yourself at once. Auntie Whispers is coming soon. What? Asked Wirt, but they all gasp as they hear footsteps approaching. The doorknob rattles as someone from outside is coming in. Wirt and Greg quickly hop into one of the baskets, while the woman stands in the room. From outside, a large pale woman wearing a dark cloak and a bonnet appears inside. Her face, nose, and eyes are also abnormally large, and she has several missing teeth, which are colored black. Closing the door, the larger woman steps in. Lorna, my sweet child, says Auntie Whispers in a low, sickly voice, before sniffing the air. Has anyone come here today? Nay, Auntie, not a soul, answers Lorna. Then no one shall be devoured alive tonight. Nay, I pray not, Mum. Devoured alive, whispers Wirt to Greg from inside a basket, where the black turtles are crawling over them. You're a good girl, Lorna, says Auntie Whispers, but you deceive me. I speak the truth, Auntie, I swear. Deceive me not, child. I can smell them, Auntie Whispers says as she sniffs again. I can smell the children in this house. What? Children? Whispers Wirt. I'm like in high school. Yeah, well, you stink, whispers Greg back. Wirt and Greg shush each other as Auntie Whispers looms over Lorna. Tell me where you are hiding them, precious one, demands Auntie Whispers. The ringing of the bell commands you. Auntie Whispers takes out a small golden bell shaped similar to the young woman, but the face has a skull. As she shakes the bell, it begins to glow, and so do the eyes of Lorna, with the same golden color. Look, gasped Lorna, in the basket. The bell stops and Lorna is back to her normal self. Auntie Whispers looks over the basket of turtles. You have entered the house of doom, children, she calls out, approaching the basket. Your doom. Wirt and Greg gasp as they duck further into the basket. Oh, my dear, says Auntie Whispers, more calmly now. Why, all along you meant it to be the turtles that smell so ripe. Aye, that is what I meant, stammers Lorna. Auntie Whispers takes the turtle and with a squish eats it whole. Mumbling, she asks Lorna, Then you have no evil secrets to keep? Nay, I have none, answers Lorna. Auntie Whispers slurps on the turtle shell before discarding it. Then off to bed go I, she says, walking towards Lorna. And you, Lorna, shall sort the bones of those who have been eaten here before. I have finished already. Auntie Whispers begins to head upstairs on the farthest wall. Then clean this floor until it shines. The ringing of the bell commands you, she says, ringing the bell again. Yes, Auntie Whispers, gasped Lorna as her eyes glow gold again momentarily before picking up a broom and begin to sweep. You know I do this for you, child. Keeping you busy is the only way to keep evil spirits from driving you to wickedness. Do not worry, Auntie Whispers. The work shall keep me busy. Lorna coughed suddenly. Good night, dear, and douse that fire. I did not ask you to light it. Auntie Whispers heads upstairs and disappears into the room. A moment later, she can be heard snoring loudly. Come out, my turtles, whispers Lorna as she sweeps. She sleeps. Wirt and Greg climb out of the basket cautiously. You sure? asks Wirt. Aye, says Lorna and coughs again. Are you all right? asks Wirt. You've been coughing a lot. It's my illness, explains Lorna. It's the reason Auntie Whispers is so hard on me. Gosh, that lady's so bad. You should go see a doctor. Auntie does not allow visitors here. She believes outsiders will lead me to become wicked. Yeah, see? That's super weird. I don't mean to insult your family, but... Oh, she's not my real aunt. Oh my gosh. See? Hey, where'd Dr. Cucumber go? asked Greg, folding out his pockets before hearing a croak behind him. Rawr. Hey, I'm gonna get you. Greg chases after his frog as Wirt approaches Lorna. So you gotta keep sweeping till you're done? Yes? Mm-hmm. Nods Lorna. The work never ends. By this time the task is complete, she will return and order me to a new task, and so it goes. If I help and we get the work done fast, maybe you can Wirt motions with his hands to create 2 running fingers. Escape? Guessed Lorna. With you? Yeah, says Wirt as they both begin to blush. Can we escape with you too? Blurts out Greg as his frog ribbits loudly in response. Rawr. Yes, says Lorna. Perhaps this time it could be different. Lorna passes Wirt a cloth for cleaning, accidentally touching his hands when she does. They both gasp and blush. Lorna coughs again. I'll take that side, stammers Wirt, dashing to the other side. Something weird is going on, says Greg to his frog as it jumps off his teapot. Where are you going? And as they are cleaning, we get to hear another song.
Here we are,
Two of us,
like ships upon a winding river. And yet somehow we found each other like strangers, you and I.
Fun, like that one. Time passes well into the night as Wirt and Lorna clean the room together, occasionally glancing at each other and blushing as they do so. The work to be done doesn't seem as strenuous as they work together. Greg watches them clean and shakes his head before his frog decides to hop up the stairs, where Ani Whispers had disappeared earlier. Hey, Greg calls out, following his frog. You can run and you can hide. Paging Dr. Cucumber. You're needed in the operating room. Greg's eyes widen in fright before he hears his frog ribbit again, and the bell sounds faintly. Well, says Wirt, looks pretty good. I think we're done. Greg yells out as he and his frog are being chased down by Ani Whispers.
Why have you come here?
She demands. Greg runs back toward Wirt and Lorna.
You shan't remain alive for long in this house,
warns Ani Whispers.
I'm warning you, children. Keep away from my Lorna, or you should be hastily gobbled up.
Well, we don't want no trouble, lady, stammers Wirt, extending his hand. Well, let's just talk it out. I'm Wirt.
Lorna, come here, beckons Ani Whispers. The ringing of the bell commands... where did I put the bell? On my nightstand?
Ani Whispers looks inside her cloak, but she can't find the bell. Follow me, says Lorna, leading Wirt and Greg inside a small room and wedging an empty chair next to the door.
No,
calls out Ani Whispers.
Come out before it is too late. Unlock this door. She will devour you.
What is she talking about? asks Wirt. From the darkness behind Wirt and Greg, they see from their small candlelight Lorna's body floating above them, and where her face has shifted to a ghoulish, almost skeletal form. With jagged, uneven teeth, Lorna's ghastly and hissing voice hungrily says, More bones to sort. Wirt and Greg shout in terror as they turn frantically for a way out.
I told you, boys, says Ani Whispers at the door, to stay away from her, but now you've gone and make her wicked again.
The ghoulish form of Lorna floats steadily towards Wirt and Greg. Oh, exclaims Greg. For some reason, I thought that old lady was the people leader, but it was Lorna all along. It just goes to show you stuff. Now I have a plan that'll... Wirt grabs Greg suddenly as they break through a loosely boarded up window and tumble into the rough grass outside. Aha, shouts Greg. Your plan was better.
I'm sorry, my turtles,
says the ghastly layered voice of Lorna, peeking her distorted face at them as she climbs out the window.
But I must feed.
Wirt and Greg run out into the nearby woods where Lorna chases them as she levitates high in the air. The forest is dark and the path is unclear. In a matter of seconds, both Wirt and Greg splash into a shallow pond, along with Greg's frog. Wirt tries to find Greg, but only finds the frog. Greg, yells Wirt. Let's try my plan now, says Greg from behind him, who has lost his teapot in the pond, and grabs his frog as Lorna hovers menacingly above them. The ringing of the bell commands you. Greg shakes his frog, where, from inside, the bell lights up. The possessed Lorna gasps in response, her eyes glowing again. What the... stammers Wirt. Oh, he ate the witch's magic bell when we were... Fine, do something. Oh, I command you to...
The spirit compels me,
the many-layered voice of Lorna says, drifting ever so closer to the brothers. Transform into a magical tiger, finishes Greg, but not before Wirt grabs the frog and shakes it again. The ringing of the bell commands you, shouts Wirt. Stop making Lorna do bad stuff, spirit. The possessed Lorna shouts angrily at Wirt. And also go away and don't come back, adds Wirt. A blinding light flashes in front of Wirt and Greg, coming from within Lorna. In a short moment, Lorna's regular body thumps onto the ground. Lorna, calls out Wirt. Lorna! Wirt, look, says Greg. Wirt and Greg look over to see the evil spirit, a blue skull, roar in defeat before promptly disappearing into the night air. Wirt approaches Lorna, who lays in a short field of flowers.
Wirt, you saved me, she says weakly.
Lorna, calls out Ani Whispers from behind them. Oh, my Lorna. Ani Whispers appears from behind them and hugs Lorna tight.
Auntie Whispers, exclaims Lorna with delight.
I thought they'd stolen you away, says Ani Whispers.
No, Auntie, they saved me. They banished the evil spirit with the power of the bell. You can have it back, says Greg, after Greg Jr. goes to the bathroom.
Oh, Lorna, sniffs Ani Whispers, tears flowing down her cheeks. That's wonderful, dear.
Auntie Whispers, what's wrong? asks Lorna.
Well, now that you're cured, you won't be needing old Ani Whispers anymore to look after you.
Oh, Auntie, no.
Lorna goes over and hugs her gently.
I would never leave you, says Lorna. You are my family.
Says Auntie Whispers gratefully.
Thank you so much, Wirt, says Lorna graciously.
And a bit of advice, adds Auntie Whispers grimly. Beware of my sister Adelaide. She lives in the pasture. She is not to be trusted.
Wirt and Greg remain silent, especially after their original interaction with Adelaide. Perhaps I'll see you again someday, calls out Lorna. I hope so.
Smell you later, says Wirt as Ani Whispers and Lorna disappear back into their home. Not long after, Wirt and Greg continue all around them.
Wow, Wirt, exclaims Greg. You saved the day twice today.
Yeah, I guess, says Wirt somberly. But so what? We're still not any closer to getting home. I just don't know what I'm doing out here anymore. I don't know if we'll ever get back home.
Sure we will. What can stop us? You got a plan, remember?
I lied.
Come on, let's go, Captain. Lead the way. You can do it.
Within the darkness of the night and shadows of the forest, the beast watches them from a distance, his glowing white eyes the only thing to see. But neither Wirt nor Greg can see him. Yes, says the beast slowly and darkly. All hope will soon be lost. We're lucky the boy had the pluck to best you. The beast turns to see the woodsman clutching his lantern in the dark of the night, but aware that his actions have not been for the better. Your play could have cost us both, continues the beast. Don't you care about keeping the lantern lit? Don't you care about your daughter's soul? The beast floats around the woodsman effortlessly, constantly keeping his gaze on him. One cannot trade the souls of children, responds the woodsman, as if they were tokens. There has to be another way. The beast floats behind the woodsman, remaining in the deep shadows of the woods. No, there is only me, says the beast growling. There is only my way. There is only the forest, and there is only surrender. And yeah, end of chapter 7. So yeah, fun episode. I really like it. If you were like me, this is definitely one of my favorite episodes, just because it's kind of like paranormal, I guess. So it kind of delves into things that are not connected to the beast, I think, especially with like the possession thing. So it's kind of interesting to think about. I always really love, like like you said here, more bones to sort. Or I can never really do that voice because it's like layered, so it's kind of hard to do that. But it's always such a good line. I don't know, and just like the facial design of Lorna's possessed self is extremely creepy, to say the least. So yeah, so the supernatural is awesome. Yeah, the first time. I think that was a while ago, years and years, when my wife and I watched it for the first time, when Lorna turns into this possessed spirit. It's like, whoa, okay. But also really cool. So, but yeah, more bones to sort, and I'm sorry, my turtles, I must feed. Yeah, so it's always the creepy, spooky, evil force. Always get you. But always fun, and the like ships song is definitely short but very beautiful. Definitely, I definitely agree with that. Something about the harmonizing with them, and it's just fun to see them kind of interact, even though they never really do see each other again. It's just kind of fun to see them together, quote unquote, together, just for a little bit. But yeah, so we're gonna go into this next chapter pretty soon, just to make sure I got the right
songs ready to go. So, think we are good. Yeah, thanks for keeping up with me as long as you have. I definitely appreciate it. So, I didn't think anybody would really show up. So we'll go now into chapter 8, Baby in the Woods. We'll do that really quick. Have a tiny little bit of a break here. Okay, so chapter 8. We're getting progress, so that's good. Chapter 8, Babes in the Woods. After the rain, the forest is thick with fog and mystery. Beatrice has left Adelaide's house in search of Wirt and Greg, flying through the unknown trails of the woods, worried that she can't locate them. From within the woods is a murky swamp where a fish inside of a small rowboat is fishing. It spots Wirt, Greg, and Greg's frog inside of a wooden box, with Greg rowing the makeshift boat with a wooden guitar. Wirt sits inside, solemn and quiet, while Greg's frog keeps a lookout ahead. "Home!" calls out Greg. "Home? Home! Could be around any corner." From a distance, Greg hears the chilling voice of the beast singing in his operatic voice. "Hey, Captain," gasps Greg. "Do you hear that singing?" Greg's frog croaks to answer. "Rawr." "Not you, Skipper," says Greg. "I'm talking to the captain." The frog croaks again. "Rawr." "Captain Wirt, do you know who's singing?" "I don't know much of anything anymore," answers Wirt grimly. "Oh," says Greg, letting go of the guitar. "Did you know that dinosaurs had big ears, but everyone forgot because dinosaur ears don't have bones?" "No, I didn't know that, Greg." "That's because it's a rock fact." Greg pulls out his painted rock with a silly face on it and holds it up. Both Wirt and Greg hear the beast singing again from a distance. "The beast," says Wirt. "It must be the beast out there. The obsidian cricket of our inevitable twilight, singing our requiem." Yeah, must be a really fat cricket." Just then their boat bumps into the shore of the pond that they've been traveling through. Greg busts out a small bugle and blows it in a triumphant fashion as he and Wirt stumble onto land. "Look, we've reached land," calls out Greg. "Feel the dirt. Ah, smell that tree. We must be almost there." "Greg," says Wirt. "Yes, Wirt? Can we please stop pretending we're going to get home?" "Huh? Can we admit we're lost for good, that this fog is deeper than we can ever understand, that we are but wayward leaves scattered to the air by an indifferent wind? Can we just admit that we're never going to get back home, Greg? Can we do that?" "Wirt, you can do anything if you set your mind to it. That's what the old people say." "Well, then let's do that." "Yes, sir, Captain." Greg plays the bugle again as his frog holds it in place. "Greg," yells Wirt, "you need to stop acting ridiculous all the time." "Huh?" asks Greg. "Look, do you even know why we got lost in the first place? It's because you were goofing around and getting into trouble like you always do." "Really? It was all my fault?" "Yeah, so it's not my job to get us home, okay?" "Are you saying I should be the leader?" "I don't care what you do." "But if I'm the leader, what are you going to be?" "I'll be asleep." "Wow. Well, then I better take a nap too," says Greg as he bundles up a pile of leaves, placing them first on Wirt and then on top of himself as they both huddle closely in between the roots of a tree. "I need to dream up a good way of leading us home. Thanks for trusting me, Wirt. Don't worry, I won't let you down. I'll be a good leader. Good night." Greg breathes in deeply as Wirt turns his back on Greg, trying to curl up to sleep. Greg looks up past the canopies of the forest and finds the night sky. "Star, oh star, up in the sky," chants Greg. "Guide my dreams with light that shines. Help me know just what to do to get Wirt home and also me too. And if you don't, I don't care. I'll pull down your underwear." Greg's voice fades as the scene fades,